Chapter 1760. The sorcerer goddess was not only the supreme existence that the people of Yulong mainland worshipped and revered, she was also the symbol of Yulong mainland. The symbol of an eternal and undefeated existence. With the sorcerer goddess, the sorcerer race would definitely prosper. With the sorcerer goddess in Yulong mainland, other than the gods' mainland, in the vast universe, no other mainland could be compared to Yulong mainland. This was the value of the sorcerer goddess's existence. She was a god. She was the symbol of Yulong mainland. In Yulong mainland, if the sorcerer goddess appeared in front of the aristocratic families of Yulong mainland, it would be like a bolt from the blue to those aristocratic families. Even Shenwei was dazed for a moment when he first saw Yunjian. He had really seen the godlike existence that he had never been able to touch in the Shen family of Yulong mainland. The sorcerer goddess never went back on her words. With the sorcerer goddess around, those aristocratic families who had always done bad things were done for. Shenwei heaved a sigh of relief. The Shen family was influential, so it was not difficult for them to transfer Yunjian to Meteor Academy for Nobles midway through her studies. "Dad, do you want Sister Grim Reaper to go to school with me?" Early in the morning, Shenbai blinked and asked Shenwei when she saw Yunjian standing in front of her with a shoulder bag. Shenbai was 15 years old this year. Because of her excellent grades, she was smart and eager to learn, so she had skipped 2 grades. She was now in her second year of high school in Meteor Academy. Meteor Academy was a joint school between middle school and high school, but Meteor Academy was an aristocratic academy. Here, you could only enter if you had money. Furthermore, the teachers and the environment of Meteor Academy were all top-notch. Shenbai was actually quite adorable. Aside from the fact that she was misled by Hua Wenru when she first saw Yunjian and said some unpleasant things to her, Shenbai was actually quite adorable. However, Shenbai had also apologized. Ever since Yunjian saved her brother, Shenbai had been calling Yunjian Sister Grim Reaper. Yunjian did not have any objections and smiled faintly at Shenbai. "Don't tell others that sister is the hand of Grim Reaper. This will bring trouble to big sister." Shenwei shouted at Shenbai. "Dad, I got it." Shenbai stuck her tongue out at Shenwei and then walked over to Yunjian. Halfway through, she turned around and glanced at Shenwei. "Dad, take good care of big brother. We'll be leaving first. Watch the road. Slow down." Shenwei looked at his daughter Shenbai's departing figure with heartache. He smiled kindly and said. Her home wasn't close to the school, but it wasn't far either. However, Shenbai never took a private car. She was very independent and always ran to school while exercising. Yunjian appreciated this.
After Yunjian followed Shenbai into the Meteor Aristocratic Academy, Shenbai led Yunjian all the way to the classroom of Grade 2-1. Yunjian came to the school to protect Shenbai, so she was naturally arranged to be in the same classroom. "Sister Grim Reaper, there's still a seat at the back of the classroom. I might have to trouble you to sit at the back of the classroom first because our class has arranged the seating chart before." Shenbai looked at Yunjian apologetically. "It's fine." Yunjian smiled at Shenbai. Early in the morning, Yunjian had just accompanied Shenbai to the classroom and attracted the attention of many students in the class. Among them, a rich boy walked up to Yunjian and looked at Yunjian flirtatiously. "Yo, a transfer student? Little girl, you're quite pretty, aren't you?" Just as he said this, suddenly, a series of exclamations came from the field outside the classroom. "Ah! Young Master Leng is here. Young Master Leng is so handsome. Our young Master Lin is still more handsome. He's indeed one of the 3 school hunks in our school. Oh my God! I'm about to faint from how handsome he is." Such words kept ringing out. When Shenbai heard this, she put down the school bag in her hand in an uproar and said to Yunjian, "Sister, I'll go take a look." Then, she ran out. Yunjian's mission was to protect Shenbai, so naturally, she had to be by her side at all times. Seeing this, she swung her hand and the school bag in her hand flew directly to the empty seat at the back of the classroom from a distance of more than 10 meters. Under the horrified expressions of the large group of students in the classroom and the rich boy who wanted to hit on her, she turned and left the classroom.
Chapter 1761. Because of Yunjian's move, the classroom was in an uproar. However, after the rich boy finished speaking, a boy immediately became unhappy and retorted, "It's just a coincidence. It's just like playing basketball. If you're lucky, a girl can also score 10 goals in a row." The boy who said this was naturally envious of Yunjian's move just now. He felt that Yunjian's move just now should not have appeared on a girl. If he could have Yunjian's move just now and perform it in front of everyone, especially those gullible girls, wouldn't he be able to receive exclamations? It was a pity that the girls were not in the classroom right now. These two girls were all attracted by the three school hunks of Meteor Aristocrat Academy who had just entered the school gate. Yunjian followed behind Shenbai. She looked at Shenbai as if she had won $1 million. She was so excited that it was as if she had seen a mountain of Grandpa Mao and rushed towards the field. While Shenbai was running, Yunjian was strolling in that direction. Although Yunjian's footsteps were slow, her pace was not slow. She could still catch up to Shenbai's pace. The crowd on the field was already in an uproar. Most of the people on the field were girls. One by one, they were screaming as if the rain from the sky was Grandpa Mao. However, in the distance, a boy wearing sunglasses and two other boys wearing branded clothes got out of three luxurious sports cars. It was not hard to tell that these three people were the targets of this group of people's screams. Shenbai stopped running when she was 20 meters away from the crowd. She jumped to a place where she could stand very high and see further. She looked at the one wearing sunglasses among the three boys. Yunjian simply sat beside Shenbai with a lazy look on her face. After about 10 minutes, the three boys were surrounded by a group of girls as they walked over. However, they passed by this place. Because Shenbai was standing very high, among the three boys, the gentler-looking boy turned his head to look at Shenbai. However, Shenbai did not look at this gentle-looking boy. Her eyes were fixed on the boy in sunglasses in the distance who was called Young Master Leng. This pretty good-looking boy with sunglasses and a cold face was called Leng Yichen. He was one of the three school hunks of the Meteor Aristocratic Academy. He was handsome and cold, and was the future target of many girls. As for the other two, they were also one of the three school hunks of the Meteor Aristocrat Academy. The gentle and elegant boy was called Song Zilin, and the sloppy boy was called Gong Shangjin. The family backgrounds of the three of them were among the best in the entire Z nation. At this moment, the three boys were surrounded by a large group of girls. When they passed by Yunjian and Shenbai who was standing at a high place, Shenbai screamed at the boy wearing sunglasses. Cold. Before her voice fell, Yunjian's eyes suddenly flashed sharply. In the next second, she saw a young girl in the distance holding a water sprayer, spraying water in the direction of Yunjian and Shenbai. It was obvious that she did it on purpose. Yunjian's eyes flashed slightly, and in the next second, she suddenly flew up. Because there were girls surrounding the three boys, Yunjian and Shenbai's location was very empty. Therefore, Yunjian's action of flying up was very attractive. This time, not only did the girls chasing the three school hunks see this scene, even the three school hunks saw it. They saw Yunjian fly over Shenbai who was standing at a high place. In a short 3 seconds, she turned around and brought Shenbai to a place less than 10 meters away from the sprayer. Chapter 1762. Because Yunjian's actions were too eye-catching, the surrounding people all looked over. The three school hunks also noticed Yunjian. However, they saw Yunjian standing more than 10 meters away, unscathed. She brought Shenbai along and nimbly avoided the spray of the water spray. Yunjian's slender and perfect figure was also presented in front of everyone. Seeing his brother Leng Yichen stop and look at Yunjian, Song Zilin raised his eyebrows. It was rare for his brother Leng Yichen to stop and look at a young girl. "Chen, why aren't you moving?" Song Zilin asked. After Yunjian, who was standing in the distance, pulled Shinbai away from the spray of the water spray. Shinbai reacted and said angrily, "It's Lin Shui. It's not the first time she's done this to me." After saying that, Shinbai pointed at the place where the water spray came from and said hatefully, "Lin Shui, you're shameless. I don't have any grudges with you. Why do you have to go against me every time?" Seeing that Shinbai had noticed her, Lin Shui, who was hiding in the dark, walked out. "Ah. It's our school's beauty. It's not the first time she's done this to Shinbai in public. That's right. I think our school's beauty can't stand girls being nice to young Master Lang. I won't dare to like young Master Lang in the future. If the school's beauty goes against me, then I'm done for." Countless female exclamations immediately sounded from the surroundings. Lin Shui was the school beauty of Meteor Aristocratic Academy. She was beautiful and came from a rich family. Usually, if a girl dared to pursue Leng Yichen, Lin Shui would definitely make that girl unable to survive in the academy. The person who sprayed Yun Jian and Shenbai with the water spray was Lin Shui's little follower. After Lin Shui walked over, she glanced coldly at Yun Jian and Shenbai. Then, she turned her head and said to Shenbai, "With a small aristocratic family like your Shen family, you actually dare to have designs on young Master Lang. Do you not want to survive in the academy anymore?" Many of the young masters and young ladies of the Meteor Aristocratic Academy were descendants of aristocratic families from the Yulong continent. In the academy, these young masters and ladies from the aristocratic families of the Yulong continent had never even been to the Yulong continent. They had only heard about the Yulong continent from their elders. There was also the legend of the sorcerer god, the supreme existence of the Yulong continent. Here, the clans of the Yulong continent were generally referred to as aristocratic families. Not only were Lin Shui's elders from Yulong mainland, but even the elders of the three school hunks were from Yulong mainland. In fact, many people in the academy knew about the legend of the Yulong continent. However, it was just a legend. The elders of these young masters and ladies came from the Yulong continent, but that was hundreds or thousands of years ago. As for whether the Yulong continent really existed or how to return to the Yulong continent, these people had no idea at all. Therefore, the Meteor Aristocrat Academy had formed a style. That was, in this place, those who were young ladies or young masters of aristocratic families had a higher status. Leng Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin, the three school hunks, had the highest status in their families. Therefore, in the Meteor Aristocratic Academy, their status was also the highest. Next was Lin Shui's family. Yun Jian had also heard about these things from Shenwei. She did not expect that there would be so many aristocratic families from the Yulong continent. Hundreds or thousands of years ago, after the entrance to the human world from the Yulong continent was opened, they migrated to Earth. Yun Jian sneered. Lin Shui scolded Shenbai. Shenbai was afraid that the Lin family would implicate the Shen family, so she really did not say anything. Seeing this, Leng Yichen wanted to turn and leave. She was just a descendant of a small aristocratic family. However, at the moment when Leng Yichen and the other two were about to leave, they saw Lin Shui on the other side seeing how beautiful Yun Jian was. She was actually prettier than herself, and jealousy grew in her heart. "Which aristocratic family are you from?" Lin Shui looked askance at Yun Jian and asked disdainfully. She guessed that Yun Jian was just a young lady from an unknown aristocratic family, or perhaps she was not from an aristocratic family at all. Lin Shui thought confidently. "Do you really want to know who I am?" Yun Jian sneered back. This crisp and pleasant voice made Leng Yichen and the other two who were about to leave stop in their tracks and look curiously at Yun Jian. Of course. Lin Shui was waiting to see Yun Jian make a fool of herself, so she hurriedly spoke up. However, they saw that Yun Jian, who was standing in front of everyone, in front of all the girls around her, including the three school hunks, Leng Yichen, Lin Shui, Shenbai, and everyone else, stopped smiling. Her expression was indifferent, like a revered king, and she said indifferently, "Listen, I will only answer the question of who I am once." Chapter 1763. I am the daughter of the Wu clan of the Yulong continent, the witch goddess who has been in charge of the survival of the Yulong continent for generations. This sentence spread around the field of the Meteor Aristocrat Academy. Yun Jian stood where she was, her cold eyes sweeping across the crowd. Her slender figure stood upright in front of everyone, as if she was a god who held the power to kill. This sentence also spread to the ears of everyone present. It also spread to the ears of Leng Yichen, Song Zilin, Gong Shangjin, as well as the campus belle Lin Shui, who was standing in front of Yun Jian. It stirred up the fiery hearts of this group of people, causing everyone present to be flabbergasted. What did you say? You are the daughter of the Wu clan of the Yulong continent, the witch goddess. The legendary sorcerer god. Lin Shui had the biggest reaction when she heard Yun Jian's words. She covered her mouth on the spot and screamed. Leng Yichen, who was looking at Yun Jian with a calm expression, as if he was watching an interesting show, also took off the sunglasses he had been wearing on his face in shock. Song Zilin's handsome face also revealed a look of horror. Gong Shangjin immediately put away his sloppy look and became serious. At the same time, he stared at Yun Jian with a serious look, his brows furrowed into a bumpy hill. As for Shenbai, who was standing next to Yun Jian, she was completely dumbfounded. How could she be the witch goddess of the Yulong continent? Isn't the Yulong continent a legendary place? And isn't the witch goddess a legendary god? How could she appear here? An ordinary girl who did not know the situation looked at Yun Jian. In order to please the campus belle Lin Shui, she sneered at Yun Jian. Why was this ordinary girl called ordinary? That was because many of the people in the Meteor Aristocrat Academy were young ladies and young masters of aristocratic families who had migrated from the Yulong continent thousands of years ago. Obviously, this ordinary girl was not a young lady of an aristocratic family. After this ordinary girl finished speaking to Yun Jian, the surroundings fell into a dead silence. Even Lin Shui didn't immediately respond to this ordinary girl's words. Even though Lin Shui really hoped that Yun Jian was just like what this ordinary girl had said, that she was not the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent. But, after the ordinary girl finished speaking, the scene fell silent. In the end, it was Song Zilin, who was as gentle as a gentleman, who stood up and explained. Cough cough, all the descendants of the aristocratic families know that no one can impersonate the sorcerer god of Yulong mainland. Once someone impersonates him, they'll be destroyed. This calamity will happen without you knowing. You will die in a few days, and you won't be able to find out the reason. Speaking of this, Song Zilin clenched his fist and placed it in front of his mouth. He coughed a few times as if to ease the awkward atmosphere. He looked at Yun Jian in front of everyone and continued to speak. What she said just now, if you're not a member of an aristocratic family, you won't know that the sorcerer goddess is the daughter of the sorcerer clan of Yulong continent. She's the one who controls the life and death of Yulong continent. So she's a member of an aristocratic family. As a member of an aristocratic family, she must know that impersonating the sorcerer goddess will result in her being cursed and dying mysteriously. Even if she's stupid, she wouldn't joke about her own life. Once, there was a girl from the Song family who impersonated the sorcerer goddess as a joke. In the end, in less than 3 days, she was strangely run over by a truck and died. In the eyes of everyone, Song Zilin was usually a gentlemanly young master. He was also very nice and never lied or spouted nonsense. His temperament was completely different from Leng Yichen, who was extremely cold and wore sunglasses. Even if a girl he didn't know fell to the ground, Song Zilin would walk over to help her. At this critical juncture, Song Zilin's analysis of this matter was very organized and clear. After listening to Song Zilin's analysis, everyone present looked at Yun Jian and paused. However, Song Zilin's words were heard clearly again. His words made everyone swallow their saliva. There was a moment of panic. Chapter 1764. When Lin Shui heard Yun Jian admit that she was the sorcerer goddess, she wanted to fight back like a normal girl against Yun Jian. However, as the daughter of a large family, Lin Shui knew the consequences of impersonating the sorcerer goddess. If Yun Jian impersonated the sorcerer goddess, she would be cursed. Of course, the person who impersonated the sorcerer goddess must know about the existence of the sorcerer goddess and use her identity to obtain something or gain someone's trust. Only then would this terrifying curse be effective on her. If Yun Jian was not the sorcerer goddess, then this curse would have already been effective. Everyone blinked. They did not expect that impersonating the sorcerer goddess would result in such an outcome. If they were to accidentally impersonate the sorcerer god, those who don't know will not be cursed if they impersonate the sorcerer goddess. Song Zilin once again spoke out the fear in everyone's hearts. After a pause, Song Zilin continued to joke with the large group of ordinary girls who were chasing after Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin, who were oblivious to the situation. Just now, Song Zilin said, however, let me tell you a very bad news. Now that you know, if you dare to impersonate the sorcerer goddess, you will be cursed. As soon as this was said, everyone trembled. Yun Jian, who was standing in the distance, narrowed her eyes and did not speak. This curse did exist. It was set by her when she was the sorcerer goddess. It was to prevent people from impersonating her from the Yulong continent. Of course, Yun Jian did not expect that there were people from the Yulong continent on Earth. What was even more unexpected was that these people from the Yulong continent brought the legend of the sorcerer goddess to Earth and let so many people know about the existence of the sorcerer goddess. Of course, this curse was only effective on people who knew about the existence of the sorcerer goddess. Therefore, in the past, Yun Jian was not worried that the people on Earth would be cursed because of this. Now that people from the Yulong continent's families had come to Earth and so many people knew about this, Sister Death God, why does such a terrifying curse exist? Shenbai was good in her studies and had a good ability to accept things. She had already reacted and accepted Yun Jian. At this moment, Shenbai turned her head and asked Yun Jian in front of everyone. Because of Song Zilin's words, everyone present turned their eyes to Yun Jian. Their eyes also followed Yun Jian closely. After Shenbai asked this question, everyone stared at Yun Jian as if they were waiting for Yun Jian's reply. Song Zilin said that if Yun Jian dared to say that she was the witch god, then she must be the legendary witch god. The people around them were all students, and students were generally more curious. Everyone wanted to know more about the strange curses. Thus, all of them turned to look at Yun Jian. Even Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin were looking at Yun Jian, waiting for her reply. You really want to know? Yun Jian turned her head slightly and looked at Shenbai from the corner of her eyes. She smiled slightly and said softly. When Yun Jian said this, Shenbai quickly nodded, yes, yes. Sister Death God, I want to know why. At this moment, everyone's focus was no longer on why Shenbai called Yun Jian Sister Death God. Everyone's hearts tightened for no reason. At this moment, Yun Jian's smile suddenly disappeared in front of everyone and she said coldly, I was cursed by the witch god. I, the witch god, have protected the witch race for thousands of years in the Yulong continent. I once defeated 1009 continents who invaded and slandered my Yulong continent. I once led the Yulong continent to become an existence second only to the gods' continent among the tens of millions of continents in the vast universe. Chapter 1765. Yun Jian's words reverberated throughout the entire place. Everyone who heard her words had a moment of horror and shock. Especially the young ladies and young masters of the aristocratic families. At this moment, a large group of people were dumbfounded as they listened to Yun Jian's words. They opened and closed their mouths, but in the end, no words came out. The young ladies and young masters of the aristocratic families had only heard the elders of their families mention what Yun Jian said. In this vast universe, there were tens of millions of continents. That's right, there were tens of millions of worlds like the Yulong continent other than Earth. However, these tens of millions of continents were all connected to each other. There was no way to go to Earth alone, or to go from Earth to the tens of millions of continents directly. Even if the top masters of the tens of millions of continents wanted to go to Earth, there was no way at all. Earth and the continents were like two unrelated worlds, each living their own lives. Until a few thousand years ago, the Lord God of the Gods continent forcibly tore open the passage from the Yulong continent to Earth, connecting the two places that would never be connected. As for Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, Gong Shangjin, Lin Shui, Shenbai, and the other ancestors of the aristocratic families of the Yulong continent, they came here through that passage. However, hundreds of years ago, the passage collapsed, so the aristocratic families of Lang Yichen and the others did not know how to return to the Yulong continent. After settling down on Earth for a few generations, their understanding of the Yulong continent could only be found through the records of their ancestors or the books passed down. Undoubtedly, these people did not know that the stone cave in the ancient tomb was the entrance to the Yulong continent. Of course, even if these people knew, they could not go back because it had been passed down for generations. The ancestors who had the strength of the Yulong continent had passed away, leaving behind Lang Yichen and the others who were only descendants of the aristocratic families. They did not have the ability to pass through the stone cave at all. However, whether it was Lang Yichen or the descendants of the aristocratic families present, they had all subconsciously heard that the Yulong continent was at the bottom of the tens of millions of continents. The women of the Yulong continent were so lowly that any man from the continent could violate them. The people of the Yulong continent lived a life worse than death. That was the fate of the weak. However, at that time, the daughter of the Sorcerer clan led the Sorcerer clan to rule the entire Yulong continent. In just a few decades, the Yulong continent became an existence second only to the gods' continent. Among the tens of millions of continents, the Yulong continent was originally the lowest level continent. However, the Sorcerer clan's daughter led it to the peak of the tens of millions of continents. It could be said that the Yulong continent was the strongest continent because of the Sorcerer continent's continent at that time. This matter had shaken the entire universe at that time. The Sorcerer's Battle. As for the deity's continent, it was a hidden continent. The people living on the deity's continent were all deities. Gods of the continents, gods of the continent of the world continent would be continent. There were even rumors that the sorcerer god had once killed a deity from the deity's continent. Headed all of the peoples. SSSS world continent and of the S. When they first heard it, they were all frightened. However, the fear at that time was not as shocking as what Yun Jian had just said. What Lang Yichen and the others had heard at that time was only a rough idea. Yun Jian had just told them the details that they did not know. People who weren't there wouldn't be able to understand this kind of shocking feeling. There was no doubt that Yun Jian, as the sorcerer god, was a strong person. How strong was she? Chapter 1766. After Yun Jian finished speaking, a large group of people stood around her. There were at least a few hundred people. But whether it was the group of girls who chased after Lang Yichen's group, or Lin Qiui and Shen Bai, at this moment, everyone was stupefied and speechless. When Yun Jian said what she said just now, it was as if the people around her could see the smoky battlefield. And, the sorcerer goddess's body that made people tremble. Lin Qiui swallowed hard. When she came back to her senses, she saw that Lang Yichen, whom she admired, was looking at Yun Jian with great interest. Seeing this, Lin Qiui's hands suddenly clenched into fists. Who cared if she was the sorcerer goddess or not? How dare she attract the attention of her man? She must have a death wish. Don't talk as if you're really the sorcerer goddess. Young Master Lin just said that you're the sorcerer goddess. Do you really think you're the sorcerer goddess? Besides, we don't even know if that curse is effective. What if you mysteriously die in a few days? What if you're a fake? Heh, I don't believe such a made-up lie unless you're really the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent. Lin Qiui's eyes turned. She suddenly remembered what Song Zilin said just now. He only said that Yun Jian was the sorcerer goddess, but he couldn't be sure that Yun Jian was the sorcerer goddess. After she finished speaking, the crowd that was silent from Yun Jian's words instantly came back to their senses. Lin Qiui's words rang out again. At this moment, Lin Qiui suddenly thought of a very important point. She said confidently in front of everyone, "Oh right, our Lin family's ancestors once recorded that the sorcerer goddess had fallen thousands of years ago." They also left behind a sentence. When Lin Qiui said this, many of the surrounding students' curiosity was piqued by Lin Qiui. "Qiui, what is it? Tell us quickly, everyone is curious." A few girls standing beside Lin Qiui curiously asked Lin Qiui with intimate words. Lin Qiui's family was a big family, and Lin Shui had a high status in the family. Therefore, some of the girls in the school were proud to be friends with Lin Shui. Hearing the people's interest, Lin Shui was even more confident that Yun Jian was definitely a fake. She definitely couldn't say the words that the sorcerer goddess had said. Therefore, Lin Shui confidently raised her head and said to Yun in front of everyone, "If you're really the sorcerer goddess, then you should know what this sentence means, right?" She definitely couldn't. Lin Shui lifted her head confidently and looked at Yun Jian in disdain. And Lin Shui could feel that Lang Yichen was looking at her. This made Shui feel that her spring was a new for a moment. To say, Chui, Lin's was talking to of, use a least, Lin, As's. Yun Jian almost sneered. After a pause, Yun Jian couldn't be bothered with Lin Shui anymore. She turned to Shenbai and said, "Let's go." Yun Jian really couldn't be bothered with Lin Shui, nor Lang Yichen and the other two. But seeing Yun Jian like this, Lin Shui felt that her guess was right. "Humph, you really aren't the sorcerer goddess." "I knew it, the sorcerer goddess isn't like you. You can't even say the words before the sorcerer goddess fell." "Pfft. I'm waiting for you to die mysteriously because you're impersonating the sorcerer goddess." Lin Shui suddenly felt a sense of relief. Fortunately, Yun Jian wasn't the sorcerer goddess. Humph, she actually dared to impersonate the sorcerer goddess. This girl was really bold. Lang Yichen and the other two didn't say anything. Lin Shui really thought that she was right. She knew it. How could the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent be here? In the beginning, Lin Shui still had some doubts about whether Yun Jian was the legendary sorcerer goddess. But look, now that she had been seen through, she was about to turn around and run away. Just as Lin Shui was very confident that Yun Jian was about to leave, a loud voice called out to Yun Jian. "Young lady, wait." Hearing this voice, Yun Jian raised her eyebrows slightly. She turned halfway and glanced at the old man who called out to her. This was an old man in his 50s or 60s. Behind the old man was a large family. "Grandpa, why are you here?" Lang Yichen saw the old man and walked over to ask him. Chapter 1767. It was obvious that Lin Shui knew the Lang family. Lin Shui's family was also an aristocratic family from the Yulong continent, and it was one of the most influential families in the country. Lang Yichen's family, Song Zilin's family, Gong Shangjin's family, and Lin Shui's family were all well-known families among the aristocratic families, and they often interacted with each other. Therefore, when Lin Shui saw the old man, she jumped up and down and pretended to be a naive young girl. She reached out and grabbed the old man's arm and said very intimately, "Grandpa Lang, why are you here?" When Lin Shui talked to the old man, she glanced at Yun Jian from the corner of her eyes, as if it was an honor for her to know the old man. The old man was Lang Yichen's biological grandfather and the current master of the Lang family, Master Lang. Master Lang got the news that a girl in the meteor aristocratic school claimed that she was the goddess of witchcraft. Therefore, Master Lang hurried to the school with his family. The moment he saw Yun Jian, Master Lang felt that Yun Jian was extraordinary, so he stopped her at once. Old Master Lang ignored his grandson, Lang Yichen, and granddaughter, Lin Shui, who were family friends. His sharp gaze landed on Yun Jian as he asked her in front of everyone, "What do you think? Young lady, are you really the goddess of witchcraft from the Wu family on the Yulong continent?" Master Lang was very excited when he said that, and everyone present could feel his emotions at the moment. As soon as Master Lang asked that question, Lin Shui, who was standing next to him, said in a sharp voice, "Grandpa Lang, she's not. I've just asked around. She's not the goddess of witchcraft at all. She's just bluffing." As Lin Shui said that, she pointed her nose at Yun Jian and made a few strange sounds. Yun Jian, on the other hand, stopped in her tracks and studied old Master Lang with narrowed eyes. "Are you, from the Lang family?" Yun Jian raised her eyebrows slightly. "Yes, I am." Master Lang nodded excitedly. Seeing that Master Lang was talking to Yun Jian, Lin Shui was unhappy again. "Grandpa Lang, she's just a swindler. She scared us just now. TSK, we almost thought that she was the legendary goddess of witchcraft. I was wondering how the legendary goddess of witchcraft could look like this. Lin Xiui's was talking again. How could the legendary goddess of witchcraft? Was Leng's heart's eyes? How could it be so exquisite? Lin Xiui did not want to admit it, but she had to admit that Yun Jian was beautiful. Lin was so beautiful, even she wanted to tear her face was beautiful. How could there be such a beautiful woman in this world? The goddess of witchcraft was already so powerful. If she also had such a beautiful face, how could they still live? Master Lang ignored Lin Xiui's words. At this moment, in front of everyone, Master Lang was looking at Yun Jian with an indescribable excitement. Yun Jian suddenly smiled. She looked at Master Lang and asked again, "Are you from the Lang family who has been guarding the ancient mythical beast Tao Tai in the northern part of the Yulong continent?" Yun Jian's words confused everyone. What did she mean by the northern part of the Yulong continent? What ancient mythical beast Tao Tai? Are you going to say something to make us think that you're the goddess of witchcraft? Let me tell you, we won't believe you. Lin Xiui was slightly stunned when she heard that. Then, she quickly reacted and yelled at Yun Jian. However, just when everyone was puzzled, Lin Xiui's unpleasant yelling was heard. Old Master Lang, who stood in front of Yun Jian, suddenly knelt down in front of Yun Jian like a commoner in Yulong mainland worshipping the sorcerer deity. Goddess of witchcraft. You're really the goddess of witchcraft. 1,000 years ago, when the Lang family was still in the Yulong continent, we were once indebted to you. The Lang family will never forget the teachings of our ancestors. Chapter 1768. The Lang family had the highest status among all the families of the young ladies and young masters present. Of course, it was only limited to the families of the young ladies and young masters present. Not all the families from Yulong mainland sent their children to Meteor Academy to study. Other than the families of the young ladies and young masters who were studying at the Meteor Aristocratic Academy who came from the Yulong mainland, there were many other aristocratic families in the southern city of the Jiang province. Of course, the Lang family was the biggest among the families of the students studying in Meteor Academy. Therefore, Lang Yichen was the most popular in Meteor Academy. He was handsome and could be said to be the perfect man in the eyes of these infatuated girls. In the eyes of the students of Meteor Academy, the Lang family was the supreme existence. As the head of the Lang family, Master Lang was undoubtedly the object of everyone's admiration. However, such an object of everyone's admiration was kneeling in front of Yun Jian, who was also a student of Meteor Academy. The surrounding students, including the group of Lang family members behind Master Lang, were all dumbfounded. "Grandpa Lang, you. How can you kneel in front of her? Even if she's really the witch goddess, how can you kneel in front of her? You're an elder. She should be the one kneeling in front of you." Lin Xiui was dumbfounded. She never thought that Master Lang would kneel in front of Yun Jian in front of everyone. The people around, including Lin Xiui, Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin, were all dumbfounded. They thought that the excitement on Master Lang's face when he saw Yun Jian was already shocking enough. However, Master Lang actually knelt in front of Yun Jian. Judging from Master Lang's tone, it seemed that the Lang family had received the witch goddess favor when they were in Yulong mainland. Lin Xiui's words were quickly interrupted by Song Zilin. Song Zilin was a smart person. He looked at Lin Xiui and coughed twice, then pointed out Lin Xiui's words. "If she's really the witch goddess, she already existed in this world when our ancestors were still in Yulong mainland. In terms of seniority, Grandpa Lang is indeed younger than her." Song Zilin, Lang Yichen, and Gong Shangjin were good friends and had grown up together. Because aristocratic families interacted with each other and Lin Xiui loved Lang Yichen, Song Zilin often ran into Lin Xiui. Song Zilin didn't like Lin Xiui, so he couldn't help but interrupt Lin Xiui. Song Zilin's words were like a slap to Lin Xiui's face. That was right. If Yun Jian was really the witch divinity, her seniority would be much higher than old Master Lang's. As soon as Song Zilin's words fell, Lin Xiui's face instantly sank. She looked as if she had eaten dog shit, and her whole person was stupefied on the spot. Yun Jian didn't pay attention to what the people around her were saying. She looked at Master Lang, who was kneeling in front of her, and continued to ask him calmly. The Leng family of the Yulong continent wasn't in a bad situation back then. Why would the Leng family, who had guarded the ancient divine beast Tao Tai for thousands of years for the Yulong continent, fall to such a state? The Leng family's status and situation in the Yulong continent weren't bad back then, and they were also one of the families that guarded the ancient divine beast. Yun Jian was puzzled because of this. I don't know much about it, but according to the records of our ancestors, ever since the fall of the sorcerer god, a group of mysterious men in black who were so powerful that no one could stop them started hunting down all the aristocratic families who were on good terms with the sorcerer tribe. The Leng family was one of them. Back then, the Leng family was hunted down by the mysterious men in black, and only a few of them were left. The few who escaped alive were the ancestors of the Leng family. Master Leng told Yun Jian everything he knew. Mysterious men in black. So, all the aristocratic families that were on good terms with the sorcerer tribe were killed? Yun Jian frowned. Chapter 1769. Under Yun Jian's questioning gaze, old Master Leng nodded. Yes, it's not just the Leng family. Many noble families who were close to the Wu tribe were also killed by the mysterious men in black back then. Old Master Leng had never experienced these things. It was recorded in the Leng family's genealogy. Therefore, his tone was calm when he said that, naturally, he would not feel the same way. Yun Jian nodded slightly and turned to look at old Master Lang, who was kneeling in front of her, saying faintly, "You don't have to kneel to me here in the future. I saved the Leng family back then, it was just on the way. You don't have to take it to heart." After that, Yun Jian paused before she added, "Also, you don't have to call me witch goddess when you see me in the future. My name is Yun Jian, you can call me by my name." After Yun Jian said that, she turned to look at Shenbai, who was dumbfounded from the start, and told her, "Let's go back to the classroom. The class will start soon." Yun Jian's red lips curved into a smile. "Huh? Oh. Okay." Shenbai looked at Lang Yichen blankly before she followed Yun Jian to the classroom, leaving behind the girls who had surrounded Lang Yichen and his friends in a hubbub but were now stunned speechless by what happened to Yun Jian. Just as Yun Jian took 2 steps toward the classroom, old Master Lang suddenly called out to her, "Right, witch goddess." Cough. "Yun Jian, our house is not far from the academy. You're welcome to visit anytime." Yun Jian hummed softly in reply to old Master Lang. Yun Jian did not turn around. She was already walking to the classroom side by side with Shenbai. "TSK. What are you pretending for? This is Earth. This is our territory. So what if she's the witch goddess? She has no power on Earth." Lin Shui was really annoyed at the sight of Yun Jian. She suddenly recalled that they were on Earth now. So what if Yun Jian was the witch goddess of Yulong mainland? When the people of Yulong continent arrived on Earth, they were not allowed to use spiritual energy. Otherwise, they would be punished. In that case, what else did Yun Jian have to show off? What Lin Shui didn't know was that Yun Jian had been on Earth for so many years, and her influence had already developed to the point where any one of them could make Lin Shui's Lin family disappear from this world. If Lin Shui knew, she would definitely not say that. "Qiu Yi, stop talking nonsense." Regardless of whether the sorcerer goddess was her or not, she was still someone that the Leng family respected for generations. Without the sorcerer god, the Leng clan wouldn't exist today. Master Leng usually doted on Lin Shui, but for the sake of the witch god, he disagreed with Lin Shui. "Grandpa Leng, even you are saying that about me." Lin Shui glared back at Yun Jian, who had gone far away in displeasure before hooking her arm around old Master Leng's and swinging it coquettishly like a spoiled child. In the classroom. "Sister Death, I didn't know you were so powerful." Shenbai looked at Yun Jian with admiration. "Go back to your seat." Yun Jian's red lips curled slightly. She didn't reply to Shenbai, but spoke to Shenbai instead. Shenbai's father wanted her to protect Shenbai, and the descendant of the family who attacked Shenbai's brother, Shen Shaocheng, wasn't studying at Meteor Academy. She exposed her identity today because she wanted to blow up this matter as much as possible. This way, the fish would take the bait. Oh. After hearing Yunjian's words, Shenbai instinctively returned to her seat. Meteor Academy usually ended school early, at 3:30 p.m. The school ended at the same time. Ah. Look, Isn't that our school's hunk, young Master Lang? Ah, why is he in our class? Look, he's actually walking over there. Young Master Lin and young Master Jean are here too. Oh my god, am I dreaming? Chapter 1770. Yunjian's eyes narrowed slightly, but she didn't say anything. Instead, she neatly put the 3 textbooks into her bag, zipped it up, and walked in front of Shenbai. Death God sister, you packed up so quickly? I just saw you bring back 3 textbooks. Have you finished all the homework the teacher gave us? Shenbai tidied up her homework and asked Yunjian. The students of Meteor Academy were all rich children. Among the people in the school, there weren't many who entered because of good grades. And these rich children who studied in Meteor Academy never did homework. The teachers couldn't control this. There was no one like Shenbai and Yunjian who brought their workbooks back. Yunjian faintly replied to Shenbai. Today's homework was very difficult. Death God sister, you actually finished it. As long as they talked about homework, even if Leng Yichen, who she admired, came, she wouldn't pay attention to it. Shenbai was such a good student who loved to study. It's not difficult. If you don't understand, I can teach you. Yunjian's red arc hooked as she indifferently said. Okay. At this time, Shenbai stopped tidying up the homework she brought home and nodded towards Yunjian. Leng Yichen and the other 2 who were ignored on the side had a long black line in front of their eyes. Especially Leng Yichen. This was the first time someone talked to each other enthusiastically in front of him and ignored his existence. If it was said that when he first saw Shenbai, he couldn't remember her. But now that she was looking for her homework, Shenbai, who used to pursue him enthusiastically, but now acted as if she didn't see him, was very abrupt. So Leng Yichen couldn't help but look at Shenbai a few more times. Hey, this is the first time our young Master Lang has been ignored by a woman. The 2 of you are really amazing. Gong Shangjin, who always had a sloppy personality, walked in front of Yunjian and Shenbai and said with a smile. Oh, it's you guys. Shenbai finally reacted. Leng Yichen and the other 2 actually came to her classroom. My grandfather invited the 2 of you to my house. Especially Yunjian. Leng Yichen, who took off his sunglasses, was quite good-looking. He glanced sideways at Yunjian and said. Wow, really? Shenbai's eyes lit up. At the same time, she hastened to pack her bag. After packing, she hooked an arm around Yunjian and said to Yunjian, Sister Death, let's go together. Since Shenbai wanted to go, Yunjian naturally followed. The Leng family's villa was slightly different from the Shen family's villa. The Leng family's villa was more antique. Walking into the Leng family's villa, Yunjian felt like she had returned to Yulong mainland. In the living room of the Leng family's house, Master Leng saw Yunjian, so he immediately got off the main seat and invited Yunjian to sit in the main seat. You're here. Please take a seat. The main seat was the seat of the most powerful person in the Leng family. Now that Master Leng gave this seat to Yunjian, some people in the Leng family who didn't know Yunjian's identity were dissatisfied. Oh, who is this little girl? What right does she have to sit in the main seat? A sarcastic female voice sounded. The owner of this female voice was a woman in her 40s. Master Leng had 4 sons. The woman who spoke was the wife of Master Leng's eldest son, Xing Lengleng. Xing Lengleng used to be a selfish woman who would get involved in any matter, no matter how big or small it was. Sister-in-law, don't talk nonsense. I think this little girl looks delicate and pretty, so I like her very much. May I know if you are married? The person who spoke was the wife of Master Lang's second son, Zhang Qiuzi. Zhang Qiuzi was Lang Yichen's mother, and Lang Yichen was the descendant of the second son of the Lang family. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Just as she was about to speak, a magnetic, rich, and pleasant male voice came from the entrance. His tone was domineering with absolute possessiveness. Once he spoke, everyone in the room was taken aback. Chapter 1771. This pleasant voice made the group of women present, who had guessed that the man's voice was handsome, couldn't help but sit up straight. This included Xing Lenglang and Zhang Qiuzi, who had been married for years and had grown children. As long as it was a woman, when she heard this voice, she would not be able to stop herself from fantasizing about the owner of this voice, who was so handsome that even the gods would be enraged. What was more, when Ce appeared at the entrance of the Lang residence's living room and made the women gasp and the men feel so inferior that they could not bear to look at his face, everyone was stunned. Who is this? He's too handsome. His looks were simply inhumanly handsome. Xing Lenglang stared at Ce, who had appeared out of nowhere, and wiped away her drool, swallowing hard. On the other side, Ce, who was inhumanly handsome, was making his way to Yun Jian. It was not until Ce came to Yun Jian and pulled Yun Jian up from the main seat and into his arms that he introduced himself with a satisfied smile. Hello, I'm Xiao Jian's legal husband. Ce enunciated the words legal husband clearly, as if he was afraid that the people present did not know that he and Yun Jian were married. If it were not for the inappropriate occasion, Ce would have taken out his marriage certificate again. Cough, you're married? Everyone present, including Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin, stared at Yun Jian in bewilderment, their jaws dropping in bewilderment. You're married? Old Master Lang exclaimed in shock as he stared at Yun Jian. The witch goddess was married. The news was so overwhelming that Old Master Lang could not process it for a long time. Yun Jian nodded in front of everyone and showed the diamond ring on her ring finger to the crowd. The women around them looked at Yun Jian in envy and disbelief. Especially Xing Lenglang. Xing Lenglang was envious. Why had she not met such a handsome man when she was young? Xing Lenglang's husband, who was also the eldest son of the Lang family, had a beer belly. He was not tall nor handsome and reeked of sweat. Xing Lenglang was envious of Yun Jian, so her gaze on Yun Jian became even more hostile. Ce lowered his head slightly, his gaze fixed on Yun Jian without straying an inch away. It had been so long since he saw his Xiao Jian. She had gotten thinner again. It was time to nourish herself. How was she going to give birth to a soccer team for him when she was so skinny? Old master, bad news. Third madam is going into labor. Right at this moment, a servant stumbled into the room and shouted at Master Lang. What? She's about to give birth? Master Lang straightened his back in fear and walked out of the room with the others. The third daughter-in-law of the Lang family was pregnant now, so she couldn't leave the room. But she didn't expect that she would suddenly give birth now. The Lang family was in a frenzy. 3 hours later, Ce hugged Yun Jian and stood not far away from the Lang family's temporary delivery room. Third Madam Lang's screams and cries of agony came from the delivery room. Ah! She had been screaming for 3 hours from the pain of labor. Her voice was getting softer as if she had no energy to scream anymore. Is the baby not out yet? Old Master Lang and Old Master Lang were anxious. Not yet. The baby's head isn't even out yet. I'm afraid the baby can't bear to leave the womb. The midwife said as she ordered the servants to continue preparing the items for delivery and went to the delivery room. Ce twitched his lips and muttered to himself, not a soccer team anymore. Chapter 1772. Yun Jian was stunned and didn't immediately understand the meaning behind Ce's words. Shen Bai, who was standing to the side, was anxiously listening to the third madam's hoarse cries in the delivery room and inadvertently overheard Ce's words. Yun Jian and the other two could have left first, but the third madam of the Lang family, who was currently giving birth, was a relative of the Shen family. Although she wasn't a direct relative, she still had some contact with the Shen family. In the past, the third madam would bring delicious food and fun things for the Shen family's children. The third madam was very kind, and Shenbai was one of the people who had received the third madam's kindness. Therefore, when the third madam suddenly gave birth, Shenbai naturally didn't want to leave first. Shenbai was also a person who knew how to repay kindness. When she heard Siyi's words, Yunjian was slightly stunned. What do you mean by not giving birth to a football team? Yunjian was stunned, but she didn't ask. However, Shenbai, who was standing to the side, heard this and she unconsciously asked on behalf of Yunjian, "What's a football team? Is there a football team around here? Why haven't I heard of it?" Shenbai's heart was anxious for the third madam, who was still giving birth in the delivery room, so she didn't think when she said this. A child. Siyi's eyes were fixed on Yunjian. His tall figure shrouded Yunjian's right side, and he could see the beautiful side of Yunjian's face if he lowered his head slightly. These two words were considered a reply to Shenbai. At this moment, Shenbai didn't hear Siyi's words at all. She kept looking at the delivery room with an anxious expression. Leng Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin, who were standing to the side, clearly heard Siyi's words. A football team equals a child? And Siyi just said that he wouldn't give birth to a football team? This meant, could it be that he originally wanted Yunjian to give birth to a football team's child? This was something only a sow could do. Cough, cough, cough. I'm going out to get some fresh air. After Song Zilin understood Siyi's words, he couldn't help but cough twice. Then, he turned around and dragged Gong Shangjin, who was still unaware of the situation, out of the room. This was truly torturous. They were about the same age, but she had already thought about how many children she would have in the future. TSK. Leng Yichen didn't go out because his third aunt was still in labor. Yunjian reacted quickly. Siyi's words, coupled with the reactions of Song Zilin and the others, made Yunjian's face instantly turn red. Master Leng and the other members of the Leng family who were standing around didn't notice them. At this moment, Yunjian held Siyi's hand and was about to walk out. Is third brother's wife all right? Could it be a difficult birth? Xing Lengleng, the eldest daughter-in-law of the Leng family, asked at this time. Before Yunjian and Siyi could leave, the door of the delivery room was opened. Xing Lengleng's jinx came true. The midwife walked out of the delivery room anxiously. Her hands were covered in blood. As soon as the midwife walked out, she said to everyone in a trembling voice, "Hemorrhage, hemorrhage. Third madam is having a difficult birth, and her water has broken. But the child's body hasn't come out yet. What should we do? Master Leng, hurry up and send her to a proper hospital. If it's any later, we can only save one child." The midwife's trembling voice spread throughout the room, but it was an absolute blow to everyone present. WH. What? Difficult birth? Third brother of the Leng family almost fainted when he heard the midwife's words. Then hurry up and send her to the hospital. Hurry. Although Master Leng was also frightened, as the head of the Leng family, he was naturally much calmer. He quickly spoke. Xing Lengleng, who was hit by her own jinx, was so scared that she patted her own mouth and didn't dare to speak anymore. Just when everyone present was panicking and didn't know how to deal with the pregnant woman who was still in labor, a calm but heavenly female voice spread throughout the room. Chapter 1773. Right after Yunjian said that, old Master Leng's eyes that were filled with despair and dejection flashed with a glimmer of hope. The midwife had been prepared a long time ago. The third madam of the Leng family was getting bigger and bigger and could give birth at any time, so the Leng family had prepared the best midwife. In this era, the hospital technology and equipment were not particularly developed. It was fine if a pregnant woman had a normal delivery, but if she encountered a difficult labor, the chances of survival were almost slim. Of course, the chances of a difficult labor were relatively small, only about 20%. If it was now, if she had a difficult labor, she could immediately be sent to the hospital for a cesarean section. Although there would be a scar on the belly after the delivery, it was better than having her life in danger. In 1999, even if there was something like a cesarean section in this era, few hospitals would carry it out. After all, the technology of a cesarean section was not very good at this time. If they were not careful, it was very likely that both the mother and the child would die. Naturally, the hospital did not dare to try it easily. Therefore, in this era, if there was a difficult labor, unless a cesarean section was performed which had no chance of success, the chances of survival were really pitifully low. And even if a cesarean section was to be performed, it must be done in a regular hospital under normal circumstances. Obviously, at this juncture, the third madam's situation did not allow for any delay. As soon as Yunjian finished speaking, Master Leng's eyes lit up again. He knew that as the sorcerer goddess, Yunjian would never say something that she was not confident about. Hey! Are you treating human life as a joke? Xing Lenglang, who had cursed the third madam to have a difficult labor just now, heard Yunjian's words and became smug again. Ever since Yunjian appeared for the first time and was invited to the main seat by Master Leng, Xing Lenglang hated Yunjian very much. The main seat was only for the noblest person in the Leng family. Even the first madam of the Leng family, Xing Lenglang, had never sat there. Yunjian was an outsider, how could she? Sister Grim Reaper. We all believe in you. You even saved my brother's life. The third madam treats me very well, you must save her. At this time, Shenbai looked at Yunjian. She put her hands together and looked at Yunjian with begging eyes. She saved your brother, Shen Shaoqing? Didn't your brother already declared dead? Leng Yichen stared at Shenbai with wide eyes and asked in astonishment. Big brother is currently recovering. Hearing Leng Yichen's question, Shenbai's cheeks flushed red. Alive? She saved him? Xing Lenglang crossed her arms in front of her chest just now. She didn't stop Yunjian from saving her, but only took the opportunity to mock Yunjian. It would be best if something happened to third madam and the child in her womb. It would be better if he was dead. Xing Lenglang did not care about third madam's life at all. At this moment, after hearing Shenbai and Leng Yichen's words, Xing Lenglang's face was slightly startled. She was clearly frightened. How could a dead person come back to life? Was that for real? At this time, Yunjian ignored everyone as she walked straight to the delivery room and said indifferently, "Prepare a set of surgical tools for me and perform the C-section immediately." With the Leng family's influence, it was not difficult for them to obtain these tools. Ce stood where he was, watching Yunjian walk into the delivery room with a gentle gaze. When his Xiao Jian was pregnant with his child in the future, he would definitely capture all the best midwives in the world and have them be on standby for delivery at any time from the day Xiao Jian was pregnant. He would not allow any hint of danger to exist. At this moment, the best midwives in the world were completely unaware that they were being targeted. Moreover, the person who targeted them would bring them home on the first day of his woman's pregnancy. When the doctors found out that this person had done so, they looked like they had eaten dog sh*t, brother. Other people only prepare midwives when the due date is approaching. Why did you prepare all the doctors on the first day of your wife's pregnancy? Chapter 1774. Ce grinned. It was fortunate that he had come to the Leng family to look for Xiao Jian today and had even seen the third madam of the Leng family giving birth. If it wasn't for that, he wouldn't have known that giving birth was such a painful thing. Thinking about how he had wanted Xiao Jian to give birth to a football team for him, Ce felt like smacking himself to death. He would rather be beaten to death than to let his Xiao Jian suffer so much. Young man, it's hard for a woman to give birth to a child. Back when my first wife was still alive, she was in pain for 4 times and left me 4 children. Sigh. If I had doted on her more back then, I wouldn't have to regret it so much now. Old Master Leng went to Ce and grumbled softly. Then, Old Master Leng turned to Ce. Not knowing Si Yi's identity, old Master Leng patted Si Yi's shoulder and said earnestly. Young man, you have to pamper your wife more in the future. Don't disappoint me. Old Master Leng's earnest words made Si Yi's eyes light up. I don't need your reminder. Si Yi said with a straight face, not even looking at Old Master Leng. Old Master Leng chuckled at that. That's great. That's great. The witch goddess had a descendant now. Old Master Leng was relieved because he knew that his third madam was absolutely safe with Yun Jian around. Yun Jian would not disappoint Old Master Leng. 2 hours later, a baby's cries were heard and Yun Jian walked out of the delivery room. The midwife's coaxing voice came from the delivery room. Everyone who heard it breathed a sigh of relief. The mother and child are both safe now. Send the mother to the hospital in an hour. The hospital will take care of the following symptoms, Yun Jian said faintly. Even when he knew the outcome, Old Master Leng's tense heart relaxed. Really? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You are the benefactor of our husband and wife. Thank you. When Old Master Leng heard Yun Jian say that his wife's life was no longer in danger and the child was born safely, he rushed over to grab Yun Jian's hand to thank her. Before his hand could touch Yun Jian, however, it was slapped away by a large palm. Si Yi flung Old Master Leng's hand away and said with a dark face, Don't touch my woman's hand. Si Yi said this with a straight face, his cold and handsome demeanor sending a shudder through the third son of the Leng family. In the end, Old Master Leng bowed to Yun Jian from afar and thanked him again. After Madame Yun Jian's family, the Leng family's family, Yun Jian. After making sure everything was fine, Yun Jian returned to the Shen family with Shen Bai. Old Master Leng to Yun's as a family for a while longer. For Yun Jian's for him for Yun. She said that she was going to Anhun to look for him. She had said this many times, but Yun Jian never went to Anhun to look for Si Yi. Although Si Yi didn't say anything, he was still a little disappointed. It was not Yun Jian's fault, though. The time was not up yet. The surprise had to come after the disappointment. Only then would one feel surprised and delighted. As for what Yun Jian's surprise was, it wasn't time yet, so it was a secret. When Yun Jian and Shen Bai returned to the Shen family, they saw Shen Wei's worried expression. Yun Jian couldn't help but narrow her eyes. You're back? Shen Wei looked at Yun Jian with worry and asked. Yeah, we went to Grandpa Leng's house as guests. Then, third madam gave birth, so we came back late, Shen Bai explained to Shen Wei. It was already 8:30 p.m., so they came back late. Just as Shen Bai finished speaking to her father, Shen Wei nodded to Shen Bai. Then we'll go do our homework. We won't make it in time. Shen Bai turned around and held Yun Jian's hand as they ran upstairs. Which? Yun Jian, wait, I have something to say to you, Shen Wei suddenly called out to Yun Jian. What is it? Shen Bai was stunned. Go back to your room and do your homework. Shen Wei urged Shen Bai. Okay. If you can't let me hear it, Shen Bai pretended to be angry and snorted the word When this came out of Shen Bai's mouth, it didn't sound like a bad woman's voice. Instead, it sounded cute. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and walked into the study with Shen Wei. Great witch god. Those aristocratic families that colluded with each other to deal with us suddenly sent me an invitation, saying that they want to invite all the aristocratic families to a banquet. Just as they walked into the study, Shen Wei cut to the chase and frowned as he spoke to Yun Jian. Unexpectedly, when Yun Jian heard this, her eyebrows raised slightly. Chapter 1775. Did they invite all the aristocratic families? Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and asked Shen Wei. Yes, that includes the Leng family that you went to today. Shen Wei answered truthfully. Agree, we'll go to this banquet. Yun Jian suddenly turned her head and looked at Shen Wei. Her smile made Shen Wei unable to describe how to describe it. Even Shen Wei himself didn't know when he became Yun Jian's subordinate. Now, the entire Shen family was under Yunjian's control. Yes. Shen Wei nodded. Shen Wei had mentioned before that many of the students studying in Meteor Aristocratic Academy were the descendants of aristocratic families. Now, there was a very common phenomenon. The aristocratic families of the students studying in Meteor Aristocratic Academy were generally the same as Shen Wei's Shen family. They didn't associate themselves with those aristocratic families. As for those aristocratic families, they all sent their children to a place called Dark Aristocratic Academy to study. Meteor Aristocratic Academy. Dark Aristocratic Academy. The families of the former students were all on the Shen family side. The families of the latter students were all in cahoots with those aristocratic families. If you don't cooperate with our aristocratic families, we'll kill your aristocratic families. Therefore, there was such a saying before. Which side these aristocratic families stood on depended on which academy they sent their children to study in. Currently, it seemed that the aristocratic families of the students studying in Dark Aristocratic Academy were generally stronger than the Shen and Leng families. Therefore, Shen Wei's son, Shen Shaocheng, was clearly framed by those aristocratic families who wallowed in the mire. But in order to protect the entire Shen family, Shen Wei forcibly endured it. On Friday, Meteor Aristocratic Academy was on holiday. Many aristocratic families' children were sent to Dark Aristocratic Academy. This time, the aristocratic families that were hostile to the Shen and Leng families set the banquet at Dark Aristocratic Academy. The theme of this banquet was a masquerade ball. Apart from the aristocratic family's children who could participate, all the Meteor and Dark Aristocratic Academy's children who weren't from aristocratic families could also participate. Naturally, they had to dress up before going. Shen Bai didn't know the danger of this banquet. She was like an innocent little girl, choosing her favorite dress and carefully dressing herself up. Yun Jian wore a black evening gown that showed off her figure. This exquisite evening gown outlined her perfect figure incisively and vividly. Even from afar, one would be attracted by this perfect figure. This black evening dress was actually a very ordinary dress, but when Yun Jian wore it, there was an indescribable sense of nobility. Many people were already present when he entered the Dark Noble Academy's masquerade ball. Yun Jian and Shen Bai each put on a mask and walked into the crowd. At the scene of the masquerade ball, 3 middle-aged men were holding wine glasses in the distance. They were not wearing masks and were chatting with each other. These 3 people were the 3 most powerful and influential families among the clans that wallowed in the mire. They were the Zhu family, the Lan family, and the Mo family. Among the 3 aristocratic families, the Lan clan was the most important. Just as Yun Jian narrowed her eyes, Shen Bai suddenly pulled on Yun Jian's arm and shouted, "It's them! It's them! Let's go quickly!" Chapter 1776. It's you too. The moment he saw Yun Jian and Shen Bai walk over, Song Ziling quickly recognized the masked Yun Jian and Shen Bai. He happily waved at Yun Jian and Shen Bai. "For the matter 2 days ago, I thank you on behalf of Third Aunt." Even Leng Yichen, who always had a cold appearance, nodded towards Yun Jian. Yun Jian also very indifferently nodded. Leng Yichen and the other 2 were all wearing masks and looked like young masters in their youth. Yichen. Yichen, so you're here." At this time, a very loud voice sounded. Yun Jian didn't need to look to know that the owner of this voice was Lin Chui, who had sprayed her and Shen Bai with water spray at Meteor Academy. When she saw Yun Jian and Shen Bai, Lin Chui, who was also wearing a mask, immediately recognized Yun Jian and Shen Bai. "It's you guys. Why are you guys here?" This was Lin Chui's first reaction. When she saw Yun Jian's perfect figure that made people jealous wrapped in this unremarkable black evening gown, Lin Chui's jealousy rose to the extreme. Just as Lin Chui fiercely glared at Yun Jian's eyes suddenly lit up. She reached out and grabbed Shen Bai, then turned a small circle to the left to dodge. A jet of bright red liquid sprayed in the air like a fountain and flew past where Yun Jian and Shen Bai were standing at a speed that was visible to everyone, heading straight for Lin Chui, who was standing right in front of the spot where Yun Jian and Shen Bai were standing just now. This was the trajectory of a glass of red wine, and this uncontrollable glass of red wine just happened to spill on Lin Xiuyi's evening gown. Lin Xiuyi's evening gown was white, but with this spill, one part of it instantly turned red. Seeing this, Lin Xiuyi's face turned green. Not far away, the 16 or 17-year-old girl who purposely poured red wine on Yunjian saw that she poured it on the wrong person, but she didn't show any signs of remorse. "What are you doing?" Lin Xiuyi exclaimed when she saw the girl pouring red wine on herself. "Humph, the person I want to knock down isn't you. Who allowed you to stand there?" The 16 or 17-year-old girl raised her head and glared at Lin Xiuyi righteously. Now Lin Xiuyi knew that she had become Yunjian's scapegoat. "Why did you dodge just now? You did it on purpose, didn't you?" Lin Xiuyi roared at Yunjian again. Yunjian ignored her. Lin Xiuyi was so angry that she glared angrily at the 16 or 17-year-old girl. She said fiercely, "Which aristocratic family are you from? Do you want to die? Who's the one courting death?" "I'm from the Lan clan, and my father is the patriarch of the Lan clan. Do you believe that I'll get my father to exterminate all of you?" The 16 or 17-year-old girl sneered at Lin Xiuyi. This young girl's name is Lan Biqing. She is the young lady of the Lan family. The Lan family was the largest aristocratic family in the southern part of the Jiang province. Lin Xiuyi's Lin family was nothing compared to the Lan clan. So when she heard Lan Biqing's words, Lin Xiuyi was so scared that she shrank back. Seeing this, Lan Biqing turned to look at Yunjian smugly. She saw Yunjian's slim figure and thought that she was too beautiful. So, she could not help but come over to fix her. She did not expect that she would be the wrong person. Lan Biqing thought that she would be able to see the fear on Yunjian's face after she revealed her identity. However, Lan Biqing was disappointed. Yunjian was not flustered at all. Instead, she crossed her arms and looked at her. Seeing this, Lan Biqing was furious. Just as Lan Biqing was about to do something to Yunjian, the scene suddenly quieted down. On the stage, the patriarch of the Lan clan, Lan Hongtian, who was also Lan Biqing's father, was standing there. He gestured for the crowd to quiet down. Lan Hongtian's power was overwhelming. So, the crowd immediately quieted down and did not dare to say a word. Then, Lan Hongtian's voice rang out. "The reason I'm holding a masquerade party here today is to let everyone enjoy themselves." Chapter 1777. Whether it was the students of Meteor Academy or Dark Academy, they all knew about the existence of the Yulong continent and the legends of the Sorcerer God and the Lord God. Of course, these rumors were spread by the young masters and ladies of the aristocratic families. Of course, if the ordinary students who were studying in the academy heard these young ladies and young masters from aristocratic families spread the bizarre news that there was a Shuxian continent called Yulong continent in addition to Earth, it was another matter whether the ordinary students believed it or not. Because of this, when the head of the Lan family, Lan Hongtian, stood on the stage and spoke to everyone below, everyone pricked up their ears to listen. Especially those who did not know about the incident at Meteor Academy where Yunjian admitted that she was the Sorcerer God. In the past, they had only heard of the legendary story of the Sorcerer God of the Yulong continent. In their hearts, the Sorcerer God was like an ordinary person seeing a god. It was an impossible figure. But at this moment, the head of the Lan family, Lan Hongtian, actually said in front of everyone that there was a young lady who claimed to be the Sorcerer God of the Sorcerer tribe of the Yulong continent. This was like standing on the street and suddenly someone claimed to be a fairy who came down from the heavens. It was unbelievable. But one thing that they had to admit was that what Lan Hongtian said just now really attracted the attention of everyone present. At this moment, all the students had the same thought. They wanted to see who the young lady who claimed to be the Sorcerer God was. What did she look like? Was this matter true or not? After Lan Hongtian's voice fell, the dance hall was silent. Yunjian's red arc was slightly raised. She did not stand out even though she was called out. This was a masquerade ball. Everyone around was wearing masks. Even if Yunjian did not stand out, no one would recognize her. Dad is too much. The legendary sorcerer god is the existence of the Yulong continent. He is the object of our aristocratic family's admiration and admiration. How could such a powerful person appear here? It's obvious that the young lady who claimed to be the sorcerer god is another ghost impersonator. Seeing his father Lan Hong Tian say this in front of so many people, Lan Biqing couldn't help but ridicule him. How could such a noble person like the sorcerer god appear on earth? This. Cough. Not necessarily. Song Zilin touched his nose and complained in a low voice. Why not? A person of such high status like the sorcerer god would never appear here. Lan Biqing's voice was loud and confident. Cough. Song Zilin glanced at him and rubbed his nose. He ignored Lan Biqing. Why couldn't he appear here? Isn't the sorcerer god standing right in front of you right now? And it's the person you didn't like just now. Song Zilin didn't say it out loud. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and looked at Lan Hong Tian, who was standing on the stage. Yun Jian had just shifted her gaze to Lan Hong Tian, who was standing on the stage, when Lan Biqing's aggressive voice rang out again. What are you looking at? No matter how much you look, the sorcerer god that my father is talking about is definitely not you. The people around him were all looking at the stage. Lan Biqing pretended not to see anything. Yun Jian looked at that pair of eyes on the stage, but Lan Biqing was aggressive. She could imagine that Lan Biqing wanted to pour the red wine on Yun Jian because he was jealous of Yun Jian's beauty. She couldn't help but sigh. Yun Jian's beauty came from inside out. Even if she didn't show her face, she could make girls jealous to death just by looking at her back. Just as Lan Biqing's voice fell, a rather pleasant male voice rang out. Biqing, you're here? When I heard your voice, I knew it was you. When the male voice fell, Yun Jian glanced over. She saw two masked boys standing in front of her. One look and you could tell that their status wasn't low. The one who spoke was the shorter one on the right, and the one on the left didn't say anything. Beside the two boys stood a large group of young boys and girls. When Lan Biqing saw the boy on the left who didn't say anything, his eyes lit up. He shouted excitedly at the boy who didn't say anything, Brother Shiling. You're here. It took me a long time to find you. As he spoke, Lan Biqing glared at Yun Jian. He looked like he was showing off that he was very familiar with this boy. He pounced on the boy who was called Brother Shiling. Mo Shiling, the recognized genius of the Mo family. Chapter 1778. Lan Biqing said as he flew in front of Mo Shiling and grabbed her hand. Mo Shiling said softly. Different from Lang Yichen's indifference, Mo Shiling was the kind of person who ignored strangers and only cared about acquaintances. Biqing Mimi, I was the one who called you, but you called your brother Shiling's name. My heart hurts. Standing next to Mo Shiling, the boy who called for Lan Biqing just now put his hand over his heart and pretended to be heartbroken. The boy standing next to Mo Shiling was the young master of the Zhu family, named Zhu Bufan. Mo Shiling and Zhu Bufan were the school hunks of the Dark Noble Academy. Their status was about the same as Lang Yichen's group in the Meteor Noble Academy. But in comparison, Mo Shiling and Zhu Bufan's status was higher than Lang Yichen's group. Brother Bufan, don't make fun of me. Lan Biqing immediately acted like a little girl. The Lan family, Mo family, and Zhu family were the three leading families in the Dark Noble Academy. Their status was not something that the Shen family and Leng family could compare to. And Mo Shiling was the strongest in the younger generation among all the aristocratic families. She was also known as the strongest youth. The group of boys and girls standing next to him were all young masters and young ladies of the aristocratic families who were on good terms with the Lan family, Mo family, and Zhu family. Therefore, they all greeted Lan Biqing. Lan Biqing felt that he had a lot of face in front of Yun Jian and this group of people. He knew so many people and each one of them was an elite youth. And Yun Jian and this group of people were a bit like country bumpkins entering the city. The more Lan Biqing thought about it, the prouder he became. He didn't know where this arrogance came from. Biqing Mimi, these people are. At this time, Zhu Bufan, who was smiling mischievously, locked his eyes on the group led by Yun Jian and asked Lan Biqing. A group of people who think they are great, I don't know if they are from aristocratic families. Lan Biqing looked at Yun Jian and the others with contempt. Especially when he looked at Yun Jian, Lan Biqing glared at Yun Jian. There was a strong sense of mockery in his words. In the eyes of Lan Biqing and the others, if they were not from the aristocratic families, then they were just ordinary people. It was like a person with a net worth of over 100 million seeing someone with a net worth of over 1 million. Sister Biqing, don't say that. Since we're all here, we're all friends. Zhu Bufan said, but pride was inevitable. Among all the people present, Lan Biqing, Mo Shiling and Zhu Bufan's Lan family, Mo family and Zhu family had the highest status. Even Lang Yichen's Lang family couldn't compare. Therefore, the pride in Zhu Bufan's words was understandable. At this time, Lan Hong Tian, who had been waiting on the stage for a long time without a reply, smiled awkwardly. It seems that the girl who claims to be the sorcerer goddess doesn't want to go on stage now? This Lan understands. After the masquerade ball is over, this Lan will invite you up again. Lan Hong Tian's words meant that he would not give up until he saw the girl who claimed to be the sorcerer goddess. These words were also directly telling Yun Jian that if you don't show up today, don't even think about leaving. In this regard, Yun Jian narrowed her eyes slightly. After Lan Hong Tian's words fell, the masquerade ball began. The music in the ballroom suddenly sounded. This was a masquerade ball. Naturally, the boys invited the girls to dance with the music. At this time, Zhu Bufan, who looked delicate and pretty, walked in front of Yun Jian. In front of everyone, he stretched out his hand to Yun Jian and invited her. Miss, what's your name? Do you want to dance with me? Zhu Bufan and Mo Shiling were the school hunks of the Dark Noble Academy and were very popular. Even if they were wearing masks, many girls around could recognize them. Therefore, after Zhu Bufan's voice fell, the girls around immediately screamed like crazy. Wow, who's that girl? Why did Master Fan invite her to dance? God! I'm so envious. Master Fan is so handsome. If only I were that girl. Zhu Bufan was the young master of the Zhu family. He had a high status and good looks. However, just this status alone was enough to make the girls go crazy and scream. At this time, everyone was envious of Yun Jian. Just when everyone thought that Yun Jian would be so excited that she would immediately agree to Zhu Bufan's invitation, they saw Yun Jian with her arms crossed in front of her chest. She had no intention of extending her hand at all. Yun Jian stood in place and sneered at Zhu Bufan in front of everyone. Chapter 1779. Lan family, Mo family, and Zhu family had the highest status. Mo family was second only to Lan family because of Mo Shiling. Although Zhu family's status was lower than Lan family and Mo family, Zhu family's status was ranked third among all the families in the entire ballroom. As the future heir of Zhu family, except for Mo Shiling, Zhu Bufan was undoubtedly the ideal partner in the hearts of many girls. But just now, Zhu Bufan was the ideal partner in the hearts of many girls. Among the younger generation, except for Mo Shiling, he was the most outstanding one. He was also the school hunk of the Dark Aristocrat Academy and had a high status. But Yun Jian said that he was a waste whose strength was not as good as hers. Just the fact that Yun Jian refused to dance with Zhu Bufan was enough to surprise everyone present. Who was Zhu Bufan? He was the school hunk of the Dark Aristocrat Academy. Other girls were rushing to have a relationship with Zhu Bufan, but this girl. She actually refused Zhu Bufan's invitation to dance. That was fine, but she actually said that Zhu Bufan was a waste? One had to know that in addition to the genius of the Mo family, Mo Shiling, the strongest among the younger generation was Zhu Bufan. What? Waste, who are you talking about? Even Zhu Bufan himself was confused for a moment before he asked. Naturally, I'm talking about you. Yun Jian sneered. She stood in front of the long table where the pastries were placed. She lazily picked up a piece of osmanthus cake from the long table and threw it into the air. She opened her mouth and threw it into her mouth. Dancing at a masquerade ball was not as good as eating a few pieces of pastries. You actually said that Brother Buffon is a waste? I think you are the waste. Do you have any shame? How can there be such a shameless woman like you in this world? After listening to Yun Jian's words, Lan Biqing, who had not had a chance to scold Yun Jian, was stunned. In front of everyone, he stretched out his hand and shouted at Yun Jian. Too much. Even Mo Xiling, who had been silent, frowned and said such a sentence. Mo Xiling's words were like an imperial edict in the eyes of the girls. That's right. How can you be so excessive? Even young Master Ling said that you've gone too far. How could a girl like her be invited to tonight's masquerade ball? Get the hell out of here. We don't welcome you. Exactly. You're not welcome here. Get out of here. Immediately, the surrounding girls began to curse in unison. Mo Xiling had always regarded himself as aloof. Because of his outstanding strength, he hardly spoke, giving people a feeling of being aloof and difficult to get along with. How can a girl like you be so annoying? No one welcomes you. Hurry up and leave this place. Seeing this, Lan Biqing stood up and said a lot of things. She only said one sentence, how can you do this? Hearing this, Shenbai couldn't help but stand up for Yun Jian. Just as Shenbai finished speaking, Lan Biqing and the surrounding girls bombarded Shenbai with words. Who are you to her? Ha ha ha, you're still speaking up for her. Very impressive. You also get out of the ball with us. Among these girls, it was unknown who took the lead, but they all helped Lan Biqing to curse Shenbai, who spoke up for Yun Jian. Just as the cursing of the group of people present was extremely loud and unpleasant to listen to. Yun Jian slightly frowned. You guys are very noisy. Yun Jian's indifferent words came out of her mouth. Isn't that because you're too much? You actually said that our young master Fan is a waste, you're the waste. You. When these girls heard this, they became even more enthusiastic. Just as this group of girls opened their mouths and chattered, Yun Jian, who had her hands on the pastry table, suddenly stretched out her hands and picked up more than 10 pieces of pastry on the table. In front of everyone, she directly threw the pastry out. These more than 10 pieces of pastry could be clearly seen in front of everyone's eyes, flying to more than 10 different places. In front of everyone, they blocked the mouths of more than 10 girls who were standing at different angles. All the voices stopped in an instant. Seeing this, Mo Xiling and Zhu Bufan, as well as everyone present, were all shocked. Chapter 1780. There were a few girls who scolded the loudest. When they were scolding Yun Jian, their mouths were the biggest. This small piece of pastry flew directly into the mouths of the girls who scolded the loudest. The girls couldn't control themselves and swallowed the unchewed pastry along with their saliva. These dozens of pieces of pastry successfully blocked the mouths of the girls who were scolding Yun Jian. Yun Jian's words just now made the girls whose mouths were blocked by Yun Jian terrified. It also made Mo Xiling, Zhu Bufan and Lan Biqing, who was blocked by the pastry, feel a chill down their spine. More than a dozen pieces of pastry were thrown together. And when throwing, one had to pay attention to the different frequency and speed of these girls' mouths. Only then could all the pastry be thrown into the mouths of these girls. Yun Jian's move just now made everyone present tremble. Moreover, she had merely narrowed her eyes and tossed out the pastries as if she was just throwing a few ordinary items. This successfully blocked the mouths of the girls. This throwing technique, how accurate must it be to be able to do this? And Yun Jian's last sentence completely shocked everyone present. What did she mean by, you should be glad that I threw out a pastry and not a blade? Thinking about it carefully, it really was like this. If Yun Jian had thrown a razor blade and not a pastry just now, she would have been fine. Then the girls who didn't spit out the pastry and swallowed it directly, wouldn't they be scared, so scared that their whole body was trembling in panic. All the girls present, including Lan Biqing, were trembling in fear at this moment. God, that speed just now, it's too scary. The bystanders who saw the scene just now were so scared that they screamed. Mo Xiling, who was known as the strongest teenager, also darkened her face in an instant. No one knew better than Mo Xiling how terrifying Yunjian's move was. Not to mention whether he could do it or not. Even if he had to throw 3 pieces of pastries into the mouths of 3 girls who were clicking their tongues at the same time, he would never be able to do it. Not to mention that Yunjian had thrown out more than a dozen pastries. Zhu Bufan was also given a fright. Lin Xiui, who had always been against Yunjian, was so scared that she took 2 steps back. She swore in her heart that she would never dare to provoke Yunjian again. Leng Yichen and the other 2 were a little calmer, but they couldn't hide the shock in their hearts. You. Are you trying to be mysterious again? Don't think that your move just now is very powerful. I tell you, my brother Xiling can also do it. No, he's even better than you. Lan Biqing accidentally swallowed the pastry. When she finally regained her senses, she glared fiercely at Yunjian and said those words. Yunjian did not pay attention to what Lan Biqing said after that.
She only smiled coldly. It was a mocking smile. After laughing, she reached out to pick up the pastry on the long table and put it in her mouth to chew gently. The venue of this masquerade party was not very good, but the pastries were not bad. Halfway through the masquerade party, the head of the Lan family, Lan Hongtian, stood on the stage again. He held a microphone in his hand, glanced at the audience, and smiled. Hey, the girl who claims to be the witch god, you still don't want to come out. Guess who I've brought to you? After that, a girl in black was brought to the stage. The girl was covered in blood and looked like she had been beaten many times.
Chapter 1781. Lan Hongtian's words spread throughout the scene. Obviously, from the moment Lan Hongtian appeared, he held the microphone in his hand and asked everyone to gather with the girl who claimed to be the sorcerer goddess. He was confident that he could force Yunjian out. Of course, the premise was that the girl who claimed to be the sorcerer goddess was indeed the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent. If she was not the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent, even if Lan Hongtian brought out his trump card, this girl from the sorcerer tribe, it would be useless. Of course, if she was not the real sorcerer goddess of the sorcerer tribe, then even if the girl who claimed to be the sorcerer goddess appeared, it would be useless to Lan Hongtian. That's right, Lan Hongtian wanted to use this girl to threaten Yunjian. The premise of all this was that Yunjian was really the sorcerer goddess of the sorcerer tribe. When they saw him covered in blood, his black clothes had been whipped into tatters, and there were bloodstains all over his body, everyone present was in an uproar. This girl from the sorcerer tribe was very beautiful and looked very fresh. The legendary sorcerer tribe was basically all female and all of them were very fresh and beautiful. The legendary sorcerer tribe was a place where beauties were born. The girl on the stage revealed a pair of fair thighs. Although it covered her important parts, her beauty made everyone present take a deep breath. Yunjian's eyes sized up the girl on the stage. When she saw the girl's appearance, she raised her eyebrows slightly. There were so many girls in the sorcerer tribe. Naturally, she could not recognize all of them. However, as long as they were from the sorcerer tribe, the aura they exuded could not be wrong. This girl was indeed from the sorcerer tribe. Yunjian's nonchalant gaze turned sharp at once. Murderous intent appeared. That girl was caught. Why are you angry? This is not your problem. Do you still think of yourself as the sorcerer goddess of the sorcerer tribe? Lan Biqing, who saw the change in Yunjian's expression, said angrily. Mo Xiling, Zhu Bufan, and everyone present looked at Yunjian. However, in the next second, Yunjian did not even look at Lan Biqing and walked towards the stage. She really thinks of herself as the sorcerer god. Let's see how long she can be stubborn for. Lan Biqing had yet to react. She Could she be the girl who claimed to be the sorcerer goddess? Seeing Yun Jian walk to the front of the stage and jump onto it with ease, Zhu Bufan suddenly came to a realization and shouted loudly. This time, the attention of Lan Biqing, Mo Xiling, Lin Qiui, Shen Bai, and Lang Yichen, as well as everyone present, was drawn over. However, Yun Jian, who had jumped onto the stage, met the eyes of the Lan family's patriarch, Lan Hongtian, in front of everyone's dumbfounded gazes, and said, "For thousands of years, you are the first person who dared to capture a member of the shaman tribe right under my nose." Yun Jian's words caused an uproar. She really is the girl who called herself the sorcerer goddess. You are the sorcerer goddess of Yulong mainland. Lan Hongtian looked at Yun Jian and was shocked by her aura. This aura. This battle formation. It can't be wrong. She must really be the sorcerer goddess of Yulong mainland. There really is a Yulong mainland in this world. There really is a sorcerer goddess. Lan Hongtian laughed a few times and then suppressed the girl from the shaman tribe. He placed the knife on the girl's neck and ordered Yun Jian, "Listen up. You must listen to my orders in the future. Otherwise, I will kill her." This threat made Yun Jian's lips curl into a beautiful red arc. In front of everyone, Yun Jian walked toward Lan Hongtian and the suppressed girl from the shaman tribe without fear. She said something coldly that made everyone present go crazy. "Since you know that I am the sorcerer goddess of the shaman tribe, then you should know my principles." "What principles?" Lan Hongtian heard this and took a deep breath and asked. Yun Jian, who was standing on the stage, flipped her right hand in front of everyone and a knife that made all the aristocratic families stand up straight appeared. God-vanquishing blade. That knife was the God-vanquishing knife. The God-vanquishing knife had only appeared in the books recorded by their ancestors. It was said that even the people of Yulong mainland regarded this knife as a legendary weapon. Before the aristocratic families could react, Yun Jian, who was holding the butterfly knife of the God-vanquishing knife, slowly walked toward Lan Hongtian with the knife in her hand. Her smile was so strange that it made everyone present shudder. "Listen up. I am the daughter of the shaman tribe. The principles of the sorcerer goddess are..." Chapter 1782. At this moment, Yun Jian seemed to be a different person compared to the original Yun Jian. The Yun Jian who first appeared in front of Lan Biqing, Mo Xiling, Zhu Bufan and the others was wearing a mask from the masquerade party. She gave people a very mysterious feeling, but just looking at her figure gave people a feeling of extreme beauty. At that time, Yun Jian really looked like a little girl who came to attend the banquet, pure and moving. But throwing away that pure aura, at this moment, Yun Jian gave people the feeling that she was the king of the jungle. Although she was wearing a mask, her words just now coupled with her flamboyant figure at this moment. At this moment, Yun Jian was like a god who controlled killing. Seeing her like this, Lan Biqing and the group of girls who were against her at the beginning were stunned, and it made Mo Xiling and Zhu Bufan's hearts beat violently. So domineering. So arrogant. So arrogant. Yun Jian's arrogant look just now, not to mention the most outstanding genius of the younger generation, Mo Xiling, would not dare to do so. Mo Xiling was afraid that she did not even have the courage to look straight into the eyes of the Lan family's head, Lan Hongtian. Therefore, Mo Xiling and Zhu Bufan, who wanted to tease Yun Jian at the beginning, did not look particularly good. Sorcerer God. Sorcerer God. Sorcerer God. At this moment, the Shen family, who was standing not far away, joined forces with the Leng family and all the other families who fought against the Lan family and shouted at Yun Jian on the stage. Standing on the stage, Yun Jian heard the shouts and naturally knew that these shouts must have been organized by Shen Wei. If they did not fight against the Lan family and this group of families who colluded with each other, when would they? What's more, they had the support of the sorcerer god. Shen Wei was not stupid and naturally understood this point. Yun Jian did not respond. At this moment, her eyes were red as she walked in the direction of Lan Hongtian who was suppressing the witch tribe girl. When the people of Yulong continent came to Earth, they had no spiritual power, but if they used it forcibly, they could still use spiritual power, but they had to pay a price. However, Yun Jian could tell that the young witch girl, who was covered in wounds from the beatings, had no spiritual energy left in her body. He had heard from Shenwei that the Lan family had gathered together because they wanted to rush back to the Yulong continent one day and attempt to rule the Yulong continent. Therefore, since a few hundred years ago, the Lan family had been researching a potion that could make the people of the Yulong continent lose their spiritual power. And now, the experiment was a success. Needless to say, this young lady from the sorcerer tribe had been drugged with this potion. Hence, even if she was in the Yulong continent, she would not be able to use her spiritual energy. Lan Hong Tian captured the young girl from the witch tribe. This action made Yun Jian very angry. What angered Yun Jian even more was that Lan Hong Tian had not only captured the young women from the sorcerer tribe, he had also tortured and beaten the young women from the sorcerer tribe. With the god-vanquishing blade in her hand, Yun Jian walked towards Lan Hong Tian without stopping. Seeing the god-vanquishing blade in Yun Jian's hand, Lan Hong Tian, who was holding the blade against the young woman from the sorcerer tribe's neck, was frightened. He threw away the blade and stepped on the young woman from the sorcerer tribe mercilessly. He then fished out a bottle of potion from his body. Since you won't listen to me, I won't hold back either. You should have heard of this potion. As long as I sprinkle it on the people of the Yulong continent, you will immediately lose your spiritual energy. So what if you are the sorcerer god? You must listen to me. Lan Hong Tian took out his trump card. He looked at Yun Jian and shouted. The crowd below the stage, including the people from the Shen family who were shouting just now, felt their hearts tighten. That potion. It would make the sorcerer god lose his spiritual energy. Could it be that the sorcerer god was being threatened just like that? Just as they were thinking about it, they saw Yun Jian laugh coldly. She did not stop but continued to walk towards Lan Hong Tian. You. Looks like you are stubborn. I won't hold back then. After Lan Hong Tian finished speaking, he opened the cap of the potion and sprinkled it on Yun Jian's body. Oh no, quickly dodge. Shenwei was so frightened that his expression changed drastically. Everyone below the stage was stunned. Just as the potion was sprinkled on Yun Jian's body, they saw Yun Jian's figure flash. Her speed suddenly became as fast as thunder. In a breath's time, she appeared in front of Lan Hong Tian from 5 meters away. The god-vanquishing blade stabbed into Lan Hong Tian's heart in front of everyone at a speed that Lan Hong Tian did not even have time to react. In the next second, Yun Jian pulled out her blade and kicked Lan Hong Tian off the stage before he could react. Just as the crowd was so frightened that their backs straightened, Yun Jian's cold voice rang out a second before Lan Hong Tian closed his eyes and stopped breathing. Chapter 1783. In the eyes of these aristocratic families, other than the sorcerer goddess of Yulong mainland, the internationally renowned slaying god was also a person that these aristocratic families and the people present had heard of. Yun Jian's last sentence, Kosha mercenaries, slaying god, made it clear to those who did not know who slaying god was. Who else could slaying god of Kosha mercenaries be? Other than slaying god, who was ranked first on the international secret agent ranking, who else belonged to Kosha mercenaries? Many of the students present might not know who slaying god of Kosha mercenaries was, but these aristocratic families' children had been educated by their families since young. They were very familiar with slaying god of Kosha mercenaries. This was a terrifying existence that they did not dare to provoke. Therefore, when Yun Jian finished speaking, everyone present, especially Lan Biqing, Mo Shiling, and Zhu Bufan, including the group of girls who had mocked and ridiculed Yun Jian and were aggressive toward Yun Jian like a machine gun. In the end, Yun Jian sealed their mouths with pastries. Everyone's pupils contracted, their faces were tense, and their mouths were agape. The moment Lan Hong Tian closed his eyes, he heard Yun Jian's voice. It was too late for regrets. The potion that the Lan family had planned for hundreds of years and spent so much manpower and energy to develop was ineffective against the sorcerer goddess. And she was slaying god, ranked first on the secret agent ranking in the country. Even if Yun Jian had lost her spiritual power, with the Lan family's power, forget about capturing Yun Jian, the entire Lan family would have been annihilated. And now, the Lan family was done for. Completely done for. He was also done for. The Lan family's years of hard work were all gone after he had wronged Yun Jian. In that instant, countless emotions flashed through everyone's mind. 3 seconds later, Lan Hongtian was kicked off the stage. Fresh blood spurted out from his heart and drew an arc in the air. Lan Hongtian was brutally smashed to the ground and died a tragic death. For those who were stabbed by the god-vanquishing blade, even the gods of deity continent would have their souls destroyed, let alone humans. Lan Hongtian's soul was destroyed. He could not escape. The families who were in cahoots with Lan Hongtian shrank back when they saw Lan Hongtian being stabbed to death by Yun Jian and kicked off the stage. Even the masters of the Mo family and Zhu family, who were in cahoots with the Lan family, did not dare to step forward. The Lan family's patriarch, Lan Hongtian, had committed countless atrocities. In order to develop that bottle of medicine, he had captured thousands of innocent people and killed them for experiments. Since they could not capture people from the Yulong continent, they could only capture ordinary people from Earth. A bottle of potion was very corrosive to ordinary people. As long as a failed product was sprinkled on an ordinary person, that person would be corroded alive and die. Therefore, the God-vanquished God experiment was a person. The Lan family's master was Slin God-vanquished Lan Shenwei had long been annoyed by Lan Hongtian's actions of harming the innocent. However, Lan Hongtian and his group were powerful. He could not do anything about them. Now that he saw Yun Jian killing such a heinous person in the form of his soul being destroyed, Shenwei immediately took the lead to call out to Yun Jian, Sorcerer Goddess. Sorcerer Goddess. When Lan Biqing realized that his father had been killed by Yun Jian and was about to rush over, the families who were in cahoots with the Lan family had already retreated with their people. The Mo family and Zhu family retreated quickly when they saw this. However, before they could leave, Lan Su, Gu Nianji, and Qin Yu came from afar with a large group of people and surrounded the place. Although the Mo family and Zhu family were afraid of Yun Jian, they did not recognize Lan Su and the other two when they saw Lan Su and the other two surrounding the place. Therefore, the Mo family's master shouted at Lan Su, trying to scare Lan Su away from his voice. Who are you? Just as the Mo family's master finished speaking, Lan Su's voice, which was no less loud than the Mo family's master's, rang out. Chapter 1784. Lan Su? You mean Lan Su, the first guardian of the sorcerer goddess in our ancestors' records? The daughter of the sorcerer tribe's sorcerer goddess who is second only to the sorcerer goddess in Yulong mainland? Just as Lan Su finished speaking, Master Mo and Master Zhu who were standing beside Master Mo exclaimed in shock. The sorcerer goddess was also a person who was recorded in great detail in the family records of these noble families' ancestors. When the sorcerer goddess was mentioned, Lan Su, as the first guardian of the sorcerer goddess, was also emphasized. It was true that the sorcerer goddess was the pinnacle of existence in Yulong mainland. As the first guardian of the sorcerer goddess, Lan Su's position was also top-notch in Yulong mainland. What? Our ancestors migrated from Yulong mainland hundreds and thousands of years ago and we've never seen anyone from Yulong mainland until now. Why are there so many of them here now? And they're all the legendary figures in Yulong mainland. The Mo family head, who had been shouting at Lan Su and trying to use his loud voice to suppress Lan Su, narrowed his eyes at this moment. He suddenly became timid and didn't even dare to speak loudly. Lan Su, Gu Nianji, and Qin Yu walked toward Yun Jian after getting people to surround the scene. Then, under everyone's watchful eyes, Lan Su and Gu Nianji bowed to Yun Jian the way Yulong mainland greeted the sorcerer goddess. Sorcerer goddess. Yun Jian raised a brow. Since she had been wearing a mask since the beginning, everyone could only see her slim and well-proportioned figure but not her face. Yun Jian had openly exposed her identity today because she was wearing a mask. With so many people present, it was impossible for 2 students from aristocratic schools to use a 3-hour amnesia serum. The cost was high. If everyone were to use it, Qingyu would probably chase her all over the streets. Clean up the scene. Take care of all the noble families who have harmed people with the Lan family as the leader. Yulong mainland doesn't need these noble families who have harmed people. Yun Jian's voice, which was as beautiful as the sounds of nature, rang out and spread to every corner of the place. Hearing this, all the people who were in cahoots with the Lan family were paralyzed. It's over. Not only was the Lan family finished, all the other aristocratic families were finished as well. Yes. Lan Su, Gunyanji, and Qingyu acknowledged the order and nodded at Yun Jian. Yun Jian handed the task of dealing with these aristocratic families to Lan Su and the other 2. At that moment, Yun Jian turned her head slightly and looked sideways at the girl from the shaman tribe. She moved her red lips and said to her, "Which elder of the shaman tribe are you a descendant of?" Name? Most of the girls in the sorcerer tribe were descendants of the sorcerer tribe elders. I am Elder Wu Qing's granddaughter. My name is Wu Lin. The young witch girl, who was covered in wounds, bowed to Yun Jian and said, "All right, you can return to Yulong mainland now," Yun Jian said to Wu Lin. "Thank you, sorcerer goddess. I was accidentally brought to Earth. I didn't expect to be caught by them. Not only did they beat me, they even forced me to tell them the way to Yulong mainland. I didn't even tell them." Wu Lin looked up at Yun Jian and said proudly. She was proud because she did not betray the shaman tribe out of fear. She did not betray the sorcerer goddess either. After sending Wu Lin off, the ball was almost over. Yun Jian did not remove her mask halfway through. Other than Lin Qiui, Leng Yichen, and a few others, no one knew Yun Jian. At that moment, Yun Jian stood in the aisle and looked into Shen Wei's eyes. The person who harmed Shen Wei's son, Shen Shaoqing, was the Lan family's master. Shen Wei asked Yun Jian to protect his daughter, Shen Bai, because he was afraid that the Lan family would turn against his daughter. Now that the Lan family was destroyed, Yun Jian did not need to promise to protect Shen Bai's daughter for another month. Shen Wei looked into Yun Jian's eyes. He thanked her first before speaking. Chapter 1785. Of course, recovering all his memories as a supreme magus was not something that could be done within a short period of time. Shen Wei was just an ordinary person. It was already impressive that he could make such a potion. Yun Jian was not afraid that Shen Wei was lying to her. He knew Yun Jian's identity long ago. Yun Jian could tell a liar from their gaze. "I'll send someone to deliver the potion to you in 2 days. It'll take about a month or 2 because I still have to make the potion," Shen Wei said. Yun Jian nodded. As long as she could recover her memories, time was not a problem. After everything was settled, Yun Jian returned to Longmen City. Originally, he had expected to stay in southern city of the Jiang province for a month. Unexpectedly, he had only stayed in southern city of the Jiang province for 3 to 4 days. After the middle of October, the weather was turning colder. People who wore thin short-sleeved shirts and shorts in summer were slowly putting on their jackets and long pants. At night, the weather turned cold and gloomy. Tonight, in particular, the temperature had dropped to the point that it was no different from winter. "Phew, it's so cold. Little Strawberry, don't go back. Why do you have to go back to school? Why don't you stay with us?" Qingyu rubbed her hands by the heater and told Luo Berry. Qingyu had an air conditioner at home, but it was broken in the past 2 days. The weather was neither too hot nor too cold and the temperature was just right, so Qingyu was too lazy to fix it. She did not expect the temperature to drop to single digits today. The weather after the middle of October was getting colder. The temperature difference between summer and winter in Jia province, the southernmost part of the province, was already huge. With the temperature dropping so much today, Qingyu did not even bother to stretch her hand, let alone fix the air conditioner. "Sister Jian, right? I told you to let Little Strawberry stay with us for a few more days. Why do you have to go back to school so early?" Can I bring you guys to play video games, race cars, and play mahjong? Is it fun? Seeing that Luo Berry did not answer, Qing Yu turned to ask Yun Jian, who was slouching on the sofa with her arms resting on the back and her eyes closed. Yun Jian replied softly without opening her eyes. After Lang Mei was taken away by Di Lin, Qing Yu's house was finally quiet for a while. However, Lan Su came back not long after and Qing Yu's house was noisy again. However, Lan Su had been taken away by Adam ever since he returned from the southern part of the province. With that, Qing Yu and Gu Niangu were left alone in Qing Yu's house. Of course, the last sentence was just her imagination because Luo Berry had not left yet. However, Luo Berry was planning to go home today, so Qing Yu and Gu Nianji would be alone in each other's arms for the rest of the day. I think I should go home, Luo Berry said after a moment of silence. She hadn't seen Mo Sin here for several days. Maybe he didn't want to see her? She was such an idiot. Last time, she was almost defiled by her cousin, and he happened to see it. Little strawberry, why are you so stubborn? You still want to go back to school to be abused. Don't go. Stay, sister will take care of you. Qing Yu curled up into a ball from the cold, but she did not forget to ask Luo Berry to stay. It was then that the door to Qing Yu's house opened. It was Saturday today, so Yun Jian saw her own brother, Yun Yi, walking in when she looked up. Yun Yi saw Qing Yu curled up into a ball by the stove when he walked in, but he was too lazy to help her. Instead, he went back to his bedroom to grab a blanket to cover her. Yun Yi knew Qing Yu's habits after dating her for so long. Sometimes, when Qing Yu was really frozen into a ball, she was too lazy to walk back to her bedroom to grab a blanket to cover herself. Hence, Yun Yi hurried to Qing Yu's bedroom and covered her with her blanket, mumbling incessantly, "What are you talking about? Why didn't you walk back to your bedroom to get a blanket when you're so cold?" Chapter 1786. Qing Yu and her brother, Yun Yi, were living like an old married couple. Even the way they spoke was similar. Gu Nianji was already used to the way the two of them treated her. She hugged her knees and rolled her eyes. Show off to your heart's content." Luo Berry, who was sitting next to them, could not help having some weird thoughts. If she and Mo Sin could be as loving as Qing Yu and Yun Yi one day, no. What was she thinking? He was Mo's son, one of the 4 leaders of an Hun group. They were not on the same side. She was not worthy of him at all. She had to erase such thoughts. Moreover, Luo Berry was planning to leave today. She was leaving Mo Sin's world completely. She had never loved before. It was her first time falling in love with a boy. Luo Berry thought that as long as she left Mo Sin's world completely and could never see him again, she would not think about him anymore. Both Gu Nianji and Luo Mei had their own thoughts as they watched Qing Yu and Yun Yi being lovey-dovey. Yun Jian, on the other hand, was used to it. With a small smile, she picked up the TV remote control in front of her and turned it on. As soon as the TV was turned on, the volume was turned up. A loud voice came through as soon as the TV was turned on. "Grandpa, Grandpa. Grandpa. We must save Grandpa." The voice of the super-large anime, Calabash Brothers, rang out. Yun Jian coughed dryly when she heard that. It was obviously the video that Qing Yu was playing. It popped out as soon as the TV was turned on. Yun Jian changed the channel and watched the TV with her arms crossed in front of her chest. Luo Berry was waiting for her family's car to pick her up. Yun Jian did not ask her to stay. Qing Yu was still puzzled. She did not know that Yun Jian had sent a message to someone the moment Luo Berry decided to leave and never come back. If Qing Yu knew that Yun Jian had done that, she would probably jump up and give Yun Jian 2 thumbs up and exclaim, "You're the best." About 15 minutes later. Honk honk honk. Below Qing Yu's suite, there was the sound of car horns honking. There were very few cars in this era. Hence, she knew that the Lowbury family had sent someone to pick her up. "I have to go." Yun Jian, come to our house next time. Qing Yu, Gu Nianji, brother Yunjian, all of you must come together. Luo Berry was absent-minded, so she did not feel the cold of the night. She stood up and bowed to Yunjian and the others with a heavy heart, then walked out of the door. Hey, wait. Let us send you off if you want to leave. Qing Yu, who was too cold to move earlier, stood up to leave. It's okay, it's a little cold outside. See you next time. Luo Berry waved at them and ran out. When Luo Berry was almost downstairs, Yunjian suddenly led the way to the corridor of the suite and looked down at Luo Berry. Before they walked to the corridor, Yunjian said something sinister to Qing Yu and the rest.
Come out and watch the show. As she spoke, she picked up an apple from the coffee table and munched on it while admiring what was happening downstairs. Qing Yu, Gu Nianji, and Yunyi were confused, but they followed her out anyway. Just as Luo Berry opened the car door downstairs and was about to enter, a long hand grabbed her. Luo Berry was shocked. When she turned around and saw Mo-san, who appeared out of nowhere, she almost fell to the ground. In the end, it was Mo-san who grabbed her waist and pulled her into his embrace. When Luo Berry realized what was happening, she quickly squirmed out of his embrace. You're leaving? Mo-san asked softly. Luo Berry lowered her head, not daring to look at him. She was afraid that she would be reluctant to leave if she looked at him. What confused Luo Berry was that she did not even tell him that she was leaving. How did he know? I'll leave first then. You're welcome to come to my house with Yunjian and the rest next time. Luo Berry said to Mo-san as she waved goodbye to Yunjian and the rest. She tried her best to make it look like she was saying goodbye to a normal person. Luo Berry was about to turn around and get into the car when Mo-san suddenly grabbed her and dragged her to Qing Yu's house without any explanation. He even found a very lame excuse to stop her from leaving.
Chapter 1787. Luo Berry's heart skipped a beat, unable to react for a long time. Was the weather very cold these few days? The weather forecast said that tonight was the only night that was exceptionally cold. After today, it would be sunny for a long time. The weather forecast also said that the temperature difference in the past few days was rather large. Today was exceptionally cold and the temperature would soar from tomorrow onwards. She had to be careful to prevent heatstroke when she went out during the day. Standing by the corridor upstairs, Yunjian munched on her apple, enjoying the view as she watched what was happening downstairs. Qing Yu, Yun-yi, and Gu Nianji's lips twitched as they almost spat out. So, you're such a person. They saw Mo-san grabbing Luo Berry's hand and taking 2 steps toward the staircase before turning to the car that came to fetch Luo Berry home. He said something to the driver. Yunjian and the rest then saw the car driver start the engine and leave after hearing what Mo-san said. Not long after, Mo-san pulled Luo Berry into Qing Yu's house. Yunjian and the rest had already returned to Qing Yu's house. Yunjian sat on the sofa and watched Luo Berry being pulled back by Mo Senator. She smiled and said to Luo Berry, "Welcome back." Luo Berry was still unaware of the situation. She was stunned before replying to Yunjian. Luo Berry turned to look at Mo-sen, satisfaction written all over her face. Although she did not know what was going on, did Mo-sen ask her to stay? He really did ask her to stay. While Luo Berry's thoughts were still running wild, Yunjian had already looked down at her watch and got up to leave. Before she left, she turned to the rest and said, "I'll leave first. My friend is discharged. I'll go fetch her." With that, she strode out of Qing Yu's house. Yunjian did not know what happened to Qing Yu's house after that. She was on her way to Longmen City People's Hospital. Since she came back early, she could bring forward the matter of retrieving her mentor's letter that was delayed last time. However, Lan Su had been taken away by Adam recently. He said that he was going to bring Lan Su out for 2 days, so this matter was not urgent. The envelope would not run away either. Today was the day Chen Sini was discharged from the hospital after her accident. Although Chen Sini's brain had been closed, she could no longer do strenuous exercise like running for the rest of her life. This was the after effect. Today was the day that Chinsini would be discharged from the hospital. She would be discharged at night. It was 7:00 in the evening. When Yun Jian arrived at Longmen City People's Hospital, Zhang Xiaofeng and Ling Yichen were already standing at the entrance. Seeing Yun Jian, Zhang Xiaofeng called Yun Jian, "Master. Has Sini been discharged?" Yun Jian nodded and asked. "She's in the car over there. Uncle is handling the discharge procedures for Sini. Sini asked us to wait for you here." Zhang Xiaofeng and Ling Yichen smiled as they led Yun Jian to the car Chinsini was in. Jian. When Chinsini saw Yun Jian, she almost jumped out of the car and pounced on Yun Jian, but Zhang Xiaofeng held her down and prevented Chinsini from doing so. "Don't move. You've just been discharged," Zhang Xiaofeng told Chinsini as he stood beside Chinsini. "Okay." Chinsini stuck her tongue out at Zhang Xiaofeng and told Yun Jian, "Jian, my dad's sending me to my grandpa's house to rest for a few days tomorrow. Do you want to come with me for 2 days?" Yun Jian had not been going to school recently, so Chinsini had invited her. It was Chinsini who looked at her with anticipation. Yun Jian smiled and nodded. "Sure. Master, I can go back to school in peace with you accompanying her. I've fallen behind in my homework these few days. It's so frustrating. Chinsini, you have to compensate me when you're better." Zhang Xiaofeng told Yun Jian when he saw that Chinsini was recovering well these few days. He then turned to Chinsini and began to bicker with Chinsini like he used to. "Got it. Idiot." Chinsini stuck her tongue out at Zhang Xiaofeng and made a face. Chapter 1788. Jian, I need to pack my things tomorrow. We can only leave for my grandpa's house at 5 in the afternoon tomorrow. My chauffeur will send us there. You can come to my house to look for me then. After joking with Zhang Xiaofeng, Chinsini turned to stick her tongue out at Yun Jian. Yun Jian nodded. Chinsini's father arrived after a while. It was Yun Jian who had saved Chinsini. Chinsini's father thanked Yun Jian and invited Yun Jian to his house to play for a while and have dinner. Yun Jian rejected both offers. After sending Chinsini off, Yun Jian went home first. Qin Yiru must be at home now. Gu Junjian would be home for the next few days, so Qin Yiru had already set up dinner early. Just as she reached home, Yun Jian's sensitive ears picked up a few gossipy murmurs beside her when she passed by a corner. It was not unusual for these gossipy women to gather at the intersection and murmur, but what caught Yun Jian's attention was that the person they were murmuring about was Qin Yiru. Yun Jian raised a brow and leaned against the corner of the wall without showing herself, listening to the gossipy women's murmurs from the dark. Hey, do you guys know Gu Junjian from our neighborhood? Didn't he marry a wife called Qin Yiru not long ago? Of course. When they got married, it caused a stir in Longmen City, no, the entire Zhe province. I heard that the red carpet was laid from the bride's house to the groom's house. I've talked to this Qin Yiru you guys are talking about. She's quite a nice person. What they said was just the gossipy women's murmurs. What came next was the main event. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes at that. Then, the gossipy women suddenly huddled together as if they were afraid that someone would overhear them. Their words spread like wildfire. Yun Jian's hearing was good, so she heard everything clearly. Gu Junjian is such a righteous man. He's usually very loving with his wife, Qin Yiru, but his mistress is indecent. Did you guys know that a woman came to Gu Junjian 2 days ago, saying that she was his university classmate? Now that she's divorced her husband, she's purely looking for Gu Junjian to catch up. As a woman, how can I not know what that woman is thinking? She was just thinking that Gu Junjian was rich now. Oh, he was rich, so she wanted to seduce him. You even pretended to be close to Qin Yiru and came here every day to freeload. What kind of woman to be a good woman to her to eat to? Qin Yiru of that family was kind and did not know what that woman was thinking. She's trying to seduce her husband. If this Gu Junjian was someone else, he would have probably gotten together with that woman right in front of her face. Luckily, Gu Junjian is a soldier and is an upright man. He's not seduced by that woman. But no one knows what a man is thinking. Who knows, maybe one day Gu Junjian will be seduced by that vixen. To be honest, if it were me, I would throw that woman out with a sweep of my hand. If she dares to appear in front of my man, I'll poke her *s. All these words came from the same gossipy woman. In the end, even the gossipy woman couldn't help but swear. Hidden in the dark, Yunjian's eyes glinted sharply. She hadn't been home for a few days, so she didn't know what was going on at home. Sometimes, the gossipy woman's words weren't just gossip. After getting the gist of the situation, Yunjian went home. The moment she opened the door, she was greeted by an unfamiliar woman instead of Qin Yiru. This woman had big breasts and a big butt, but she had a good figure. Although she was in her 40s and looked much uglier than Qin Yiru, she was younger than Qin Yiru. Chapter 1789. Gu Yunjian's family was rich now. Everyone in the neighborhood knew this. Back then, Gu Junjian and his wife, Qin Yiru, had a grand wedding. A red carpet had been laid out from the bride's house to the groom's house. More than 20 super sports cars had come to welcome the bride. Among them, there were even a few flagship limited edition sports cars. Just this alone was enough to make a group of neighbors envious to death. One had to know that the neighbors in Gu Yunjian's neighborhood were not poor. Gu Yunjian's house was a villa, and this was a villa forest. The neighbors in the neighborhood lived in villas, so naturally, they were not poor. However, compared to Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru's wedding, the neighbors in the neighborhood could not compare at all. The woman standing in front of Yunjian was called Su Nina. The latter part of her name sounded like a foreigner's name. This was a name that Su Nina's parents gave her to show that she was an intellectual who had gone to university. Su Nina was Gu Yunjian's university classmate. As they lived in the same city, they usually interacted with each other, but not much. During their university days, Gu Junjian kept a low profile. Su Nina thought that Gu Yunjian's family was very poor. During their university days, Gu Junjian and Su Nina had outstanding looks. Therefore, it was inevitable that there would be some people who liked to play matchmaker or tease them to get together. Su Nina thought that Gu Yunjian's family was poor, so she refused to interact with Gu Junjian. Every time she accidentally bumped into Gu Junjian and was teased by the people around her, Su Nina would be filled with dissatisfaction. She would even fly into a rage. After that, the two of them never met again. Gu Junjian only heard that Su Nina later married a rich man. Her husband was a big boss in a city and was worth millions. In this era, millions were really rich. However, Su Nina was recently forced to get a divorce by her rich husband. She did not even get a single cent and was chased out with her son. However, in front of outsiders, Su Nina still had to pretend that she was very rich and did not care about her reputation. When Su Nina came back, she occasionally heard that Gu Yunjian's family had become very rich. Moreover, Gu Junjian looked valiant and heroic, which was why Su Nina's heart was moved. Especially when she heard that when Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru got married, there were more than 20 super sports cars, including the red carpet from Qin Yiru's house to Gu Yunjian's house. Su Nina thought that Gu Junjian was the one who paid for all this. Gu Junjian had become so rich. Therefore, she quickly came to the door. When she saw Yunjian, Su Nina, who had just recovered from her confidence that she was younger than Qin Yiru, was instantly dealt another blow. However, Su Nina did not dare to be rude to Yunjian, so she could only pull a long face and speak nicely to Yunjian. The moment Yunjian entered, she saw Su Nina's hypocritical face. Su Nina's face was covered with thick makeup, and she was no different from a nightclub princess. The perfume on her body could be smelled from more than 10 meters away. Seeing this, Yunjian frowned. Seeing that Yunjian was ignoring her, Su Nina's face flashed with displeasure. However, she still spoke to Yun Jian in a very intimate tone. Little girl, you're so pretty. Tell me, what's your name? How old are you this year? As she spoke, Su Nina turned sideways and waved at a 13 or 14-year-old boy. After the boy ran over, Su Nina blocked Yun Jian at the door and did not let her in. It was as if she was the mistress of the house. Pulling the boy, Su Nina even introduced him to Yun Jian intimately. This is my son, Su Liao. Liao, quickly greet your big sister. As she spoke, she even asked her son to call Yun Jian big sister. Su Nina was the kind of person who came uninvited and treated other people's houses as her own. She was the master of the house. Yun Jian did not even look at Su Nina. She stretched out her leg and kicked Su Nina away, walking straight into the house. Su Nina was kicked and almost lost her balance. She pulled the boy to the side and fell. After Su Nina steadied herself, she was furious. She was just about to complain to Gu Junjian. However, Yun Jian's voice was already heard. She was speaking to Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru. Chapter 1790. The reason Su Nina dared to come here so brazenly was because she was certain that Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru would not dare chase her away. After all, Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru were honest people. Usually, when someone came to their house, they would treat them with courtesy as long as they were thin-skinned. Even if the other party was overboard, they would usually tolerate them as long as they did not cross the line. Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru were more honest people, so even when Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru did not like Su Nina coming to their house, they were too embarrassed to chase her away. Therefore, when Su Nina came to their house for meals every day, Qin Yiru was too embarrassed to say anything. What Su Nina did not expect was that Yun Jian would say something like that when she wanted to use the same method to make Yun Jian feel embarrassed to chase her away. Dog sh*t. She actually described her as dog sh*t. Xiao Jian, she's a guest. You can't say that. Qin Yiru had long disliked Su Nina, but she still had to say that in front of outsiders. As she spoke, Qin Yiru gave Yun Jian a look that said, "You're awesome. My child is young and speaks like that." Don't take it to heart, Qin Yiru quickly told Su Nina after she spoke. Su Nina, who wanted to criticize Yun Jian, was at a loss for words. Since Qin Yiru had already said that, if she, Su Nina, were to say something else, would it not make her seem like she was being petty with a child? Su Nina's expression was very ugly. You're not allowed to talk bad about my mom. You're a bad person. Su Nina's son, Su Liao, suddenly bellowed at Yun Jian. His words gave the surrounding people a fright. Liao, don't spout nonsense. You have to treat your sister like your real sister. Don't spout nonsense like that next time. Su Nina covered Su Liao's mouth and told Su Liao solemnly. When the others heard her, they really thought that Su Nina was well-mannered. When they thought about it, asking Su Liao to treat Yun Jian like his real sister? If they understood the meaning of her words deeper, it could be understood as, Su Nina was going to take Qin Yiru's place sooner or later. Asking Su Liao to call Yun Jian's sister? Su Liao listened to Su Nina very much. When Su Nina said that, Su Liao immediately shut his mouth. By the way, Liao, what did you learn in school today? Where did you learn the English taught by the teacher at the cram school? Su Nina was angry at Yun Jian, but she couldn't show it, so she wanted to use her son's extraordinary talent to provoke Yun Jian. Mom, the English taught by the teacher at the cram school is too slow. Even if a foreigner stands in front of me, I can still say a few words to him in daily language. Su Liao was still a junior high school student. He was not tall, but he still had a smug look on his face. He said proudly, "Wow, Liao is amazing." Su Nina clapped her hands as she said that. Then she looked at Yun Jian and looked at Yun Jian with contempt. She pretended to be kind and said to Yun Jian, "My Liao isn't good at anything except English. I heard that your English is getting harder and harder in high school now that you're in high school." My Liolio has been learning English since he was young. If you don't understand, you can ask my Liolio. Yun Jian sneered with confidence. Unexpectedly, just as Su Nina finished speaking, Yun Jian's phone rang. When she raised her hand and saw the words displayed on the phone, Yun Jian raised her eyebrows. New Cruise was now expanding overseas. There was no room for further development in the country. Zhang Jifan didn't understand foreign languages, so whenever he talked to foreigners about cooperation, Yun Jian would take the call when she was free. Yun Jian pressed the speakerphone and picked up the call. A fluent English voice came from the other end of the phone. Miss Yun Jian, how are you? I'm Apollo, the president of Alita Company. Chapter 1791. Yun Jian hung up right after she said that. Although the conversation only lasted for a few seconds, this fluent English conversation was definitely not as simple as an everyday conversation. Su Nina and her son, Su Liao, were stunned by the scene. Su Nina, who had just boasted about her son, froze. What did she say just now? She said that she wanted Yun Jian to learn English from her son, but what about Yun Jian? She was able to talk to foreigners? Su Nina was thick-skinned. After a pause, she cast aside her awkward situation and turned to look at Qin Yiru. Io, sister-in-law, your daughter even knows foreigners? The sarcastic tone made Qin Yiru frown. Xiao Jian knows some foreigners and keeps in touch with them. Qin Yiru smiled politely at Su Nina even though she did not like Su Nina. At that moment, a handsome figure came down from upstairs. Upon closer look, it was Gu Junjian. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Her mother, Qin Yiru, married Gu Junjian because Gu Junjian was a righteous man who would not have any contact with shady women. It was not the first time Su Nina came to visit them. Based on what the gossipy women said, it had been a while. If it was just once or twice, Su Nina was probably here to catch up. As the hosts, Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru should not chase her away. However, it was not the first time Su Nina came to visit. No matter how dumb Gu Junjian was, he should be able to tell what was going on. If he did not do anything, Yun Jian wondered if Qin Yiru marrying Gu Junjian was the right choice. Xiao Jian, you're back. Let's go to the hotel for a feast tonight. Dad's treating a few college classmates to a gathering. Let's go together after a change of clothes. Gu Junjian told Yun Jian with a grin as he straightened his suit around himself. Gu Junjian was treating a few university classmates to a gathering today, which was why Su Nina had stayed until so late and declared that she wanted to go with Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru. It was already past 7 in the evening. The reason Gu Junjian chose this time to treat his university classmates was that some of them had to work during the day and knocked off later at night. Looking at Gu Junjian, who had changed out of his military uniform, Yun saw Su Nina's eyes sparkling. Yun Jian's gaze darkened as she went upstairs. If Gu Junjian did not handle this matter well, she would definitely leave with Qin Yiru. 3 minutes later, Yun Jian had changed into a clean white long-sleeved shirt and a pair of blue skinny jeans. The loose shirt and skinny jeans accentuated her curves to the fullest. There was a sense of freshness about her. Yun Jian was about to go downstairs when she heard Gu Junjian talking to Su Nina. Qin Yiru was listening by the side as well. However, she heard Gu Junjian say to Su Nina in a serious tone. Su Nina, I, Gu Junjian, have always been upright. I've never betrayed anyone. I didn't say it 2 days ago because I wanted to save you some face. Today, I'll be frank with you in front of my wife. When we were in university, our classmates wanted to match us up, but I've never had any thoughts about you. Not in the past, not now, and not in the future. Please conduct yourself with dignity. Chapter 1792. Before Yun Jian went downstairs, she heard Gu Junjian say those words to Su Nina in a very serious tone. Gu Junjian was a soldier. Of course, he wouldn't say something as rude as, "Get out of my house," to Su Nina. However, Gu Junjian wouldn't say anything to Su Nina just because he felt embarrassed and let Su Nina wander around in front of him. He couldn't do that. Qin Yiru was thin-skinned. She was born weak and knew her place. Gu Junjian naturally understood this. However, a man married a wife to pamper and protect her. Otherwise, what was the point of having a man like him? Since Su Nina was so shameless, then he, Gu Junjian, would be the bad guy. Yun Jian, who was standing on the stairs, suddenly smiled. Indeed, it was the right decision to let Qin Yiru be with Gu Junjian. Qin Yiru, who was standing downstairs, was so touched that she couldn't say anything after hearing Gu Junjian's words. On the other hand, Su Nina, who was standing opposite Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian, froze. She didn't expect that the person who exposed her was Gu Junjian. After her face froze for a while, Su Nina looked at Gu Junjian and continued to act pitiful. "Brother Junjian, what are you talking about? How many years have we known each other? After I divorced my ex-husband, I thought that I had no one to rely on when I came back. So, I thought about how you treated people in school back then. Now that you're a soldier, I really have nowhere to go with my child. My family is chasing me away and can't wait for me to leave. I don't have a job either. I know that I'm a little thick-skinned, but if it weren't for brother Junjian and sister-in-law, I would have starved to death on the streets with my Liolio because we didn't have enough money to eat." After Su Nina heard Gu Junjian's words, she was angry with Qin Yiru. What was so good about this woman? She wasn't as young as herself. However, after hearing Gu Junjian's words, Su Nina wanted to rely on Gu Junjian even more. Not only was Gu Junjian rich, he wasn't a womanizer. TSK, if her ex-husband had even half of Gu Junjian's heart, he wouldn't have made her a nun. That bastard. Su Nina was implying that she and her son Su would die if Gu Junjian didn't let her and Qin Yiru, she and her son, Su, would die. Gu Junjian frowned. This woman was really difficult to deal with. Just as Gu Junjian was about to speak again, Yun Jian's voice came from upstairs, one step ahead of him. "Then you can starve to death on the streets for me to see. If you can die, I'll be kind enough to donate money to bury your body." This voice suddenly rang out. It was a stark contrast to Su Nina's soft and weak voice, who was wiping her tears as if Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian had bullied her. Sometimes, if someone was shameless to you, why should you give them face? If they could be shameless to you, then you should let them know what the highest level of shamelessness is. Yun Jian walked down the stairs with a cold expression. She enunciated each word and uttered words that made Su Nina's expression turn uglier. When Su Nina visited Gu Junjian's house for the first time, she saw Qin Yiru. After chatting with Qin Yiru for a while, she knew that Qin Yiru was a soft and weak person. For such a person, even if she stole her man right in front of her, she could only cry in the dark, right? Therefore, when she heard that Qin Yiru had a son and a daughter, Su Nina's first thought was, Qin Yiru's son and daughter were the children of that coward ex-husband, so they probably weren't that powerful. Therefore, her daughter and son must be like Qin Yiru, soft and weak. However, at this moment, Su Nina was wrong. Yun Jian was completely different from Qin Yiru. However, this wasn't the only thing Su Nina was wrong about. "Little girl, how can you say that? If you say that, I want to kill myself." Su Nina wanted to pretend to be pitiful again. She even looked left and right for a place where she could commit suicide. Su Nina thought that Yun Jian would rush up and tell her that she was wrong because she was afraid that she would commit suicide, or that Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian would stop her. However, Su Nina was wrong. Just as she was looking for a place to pretend that she was going to commit suicide, she saw Yun Jian walk up to Su Nina. Yun Jian flipped her hand and a butterfly knife appeared. She swung the butterfly knife twice and placed it directly on Su Nina's neck. Just as Su Nina was about to take a step back in shock, Yun Jian's cold voice rang out. Chapter 1793. Never in Su Nina's wildest dreams would she have imagined that Yun Jian carried a knife with her. Moreover, Yun Jian was dressed neatly from head to toe, no different from an ordinary person. How did she hide the butterfly knife on her? Judging by Yun Jian's swift hand speed just now, she was probably not an ordinary person. Since Su Nina was Gu Yunjian's university classmate, it was certain that Su Nina had studied in a military school in the past. Su Nina majored in military medicine. However, after she met her current ex-husband, she left with him and did not finish her studies. Having studied in a military school, Su Nina was well aware of how terrifying Yun Jian's technique was when she took the knife and held it against her neck. Even the male students who studied in the military academy couldn't compare to her. Hence, Su Nina's legs went weak from fear. Unable to control herself, she knelt before Yun Jian. When Su Nina's son, Su Liao, saw that his mother was held by Yun Jian with a knife, he did not rush over. Instead, he tore away his mother's hand that was holding Su Nina and ran a dozen meters to the side, hiding in a corner in fear. He dared not come forward to save his mother. Yun Jian smirked at what she saw. Gu Junjian kept quiet on purpose. It was only when Su Nina was pale and sweating that Gu Junjian held back his laughter and pretended to reprimand Yun Jian like an elder. "All right, Xiao Jian, stop fooling around. I still have to treat a few university classmates to dinner later." It was obviously unrealistic to kill Su Nina. This was a lawful society after all. Gu Junjian could tell that Yun Jian was just scaring Su Nina. After all, a woman like Su Nina would probably come to his house again if he did not scare her. Hearing what Gu Junjian said, Yun Jian kept the butterfly knife with a smirk and kicked Su Nina's abdomen, sending Su Nina to the floor. "For my dad's sake, I won't spend the money on a coffin." Yun Jian turned around nonchalantly, her long hair brushing Su Nina's face, stunning Su Nina for a long time. "My daughter studies in the military school. She looks just like a boy. You've studied in the military school too, so you know that we soldiers have stronger hands. Don't take it offense." Gu Junjian held Qin Yiru's hand and stood more than 10 meters away from Su Nina, showing no intention of going over to help Su Nina. Moreover, he was holding Qin Yiru's hand. If Qin Yiru did not go over to help Su Nina would be too embarrassed to say anything. The back and forth had infuriated Su Nina so much that she was about to have a heart attack. In spite of it, Su Nina was at a loss for words. Even her son, Su Liao, had stayed far away just now. 20 minutes later, the group walked from Gu Yunjian's house to Xianjia Hotel. It had been 3 to 4 years since Xianjia Hotel opened in Longmen City. It was well received and popular. That was because Xianjia Hotel's taste buds were obvious from its name. It was geared toward the masses and tasted similar to the local dishes cooked by ordinary people in Longmen City. Big bosses liked to set up their gatherings here as well. Since it was not particularly expensive, people would usually treat them to a meal. Those who were more extravagant would set up their gatherings here as well. Xianjia Hotel's decor was quite nice. Just as Yun Jian and Gu Junjian entered, they saw a group of men and women who were about the same age as Gu Junjian standing nearby. These men and women who were about the same age as Gu Junjian must be Gu Yunjian's university classmates. These middle-aged men and women who were about the same age as Gu Junjian were accompanied by young men and girls who were about the same age as Yun Jian. These people were obviously the children of Gu Yunjian's university classmates. For a large gathering like this, many parents would bring their children along. It was especially so in 1999 when the people's standard of living was still not high. Usually, when there was a gathering and someone was treating, the whole family would be present. After all, meat was only a few times a year back then. It was unlike now where they could eat meat whenever they wanted. Were their families unable to survive? They would starve to death. As Gu Junjian was the one who was treating today, a large group of people were waiting outside. When they saw Gu Junjian, the large group of people crowded around him. "Our officer Gu is here." "Haha. Junjian, it's been a few years since we last met. How have you been?" A big-bellied man rubbed his beer belly and asked Gu Junjian courteously. Chapter 1794. When everyone was seated around the two tables, the dishes were served. Gu Junjian ordered 2 tables of dishes. Since his university classmates had invited their entire families, 1 table was definitely not enough to seat all of them. Of course, in this era, when there was a gathering, the entire family would be brought over for a free meal. Gu Junjian had already expected this, so the dining table was naturally prepared in advance. There were only a few seats left. After everyone sat down, Gu Junjian looked around. Seeing that no one was present yet, he asked, "What's the matter? Where's old Zhang? Why don't I see him?" Yun Jian was sitting next to Qin Yiru. She could feel that many women and young girls were staring at her with burning eyes. Old Zhang went to pick up his son from class. He'll be here in a while. The man with the beer belly who greeted Gu Junjian just now said to Gu Junjian. None of the middle-aged men, especially those who were big bosses, could escape the fate of having a beer belly. This was simply because their lives were too comfortable. Okay. Gu Junjian nodded. Usually, in such a gathering, the men would sit at one table and the women would sit at another. Today was no exception. Yun Jian was sitting with Qin Yiru. Su Nina was sitting opposite Yun Jian and Qin Yiru. "You're Officer Ji's wife?" Just when the atmosphere was a little awkward, a woman looked at Qin Yiru and asked. Qin Yiru nodded very politely and answered. "You and Officer Gu are both married twice, right? Officer Gu had many suitors in our university back then. You're lucky to be able to marry him twice." The woman looked at Qin Yiru and said with a smile. After saying this, the woman turned to look at Yun Jian and changed the topic to Yun Jian. "Then this must be the daughter of you and your ex-husband, right? You're pretty, but you look a little weak and gentle. Officer Gu is a soldier. You and your mother look weak and gentle, aha. Officer Gu is protecting him." This woman spoke in a strange tone. It was unclear whether she was praising Yun Jian and Qin Yiru or secretly mocking them. But everyone around could hear one thing. Gu Junjian was indeed powerful, but Yun Jian and Qin Yiru were both skinny and weak. Hearing the woman's words, Su Nina's body trembled. She didn't know why she was trembling when she heard these words. The woman's name was Wang Defang. Wang Defang wasn't Gu Yunjian's university classmate. She was the wife of Gu Yunjian's university classmate. She had brought her daughter along for a free meal today. After Wang Defang finished speaking, she picked up a huge piece of pork trotter and placed it in her daughter's bowl. Then, she instructed her daughter, who weighed at least 160 kilograms, "Don't worry about it. 1. Eat meat. Eat more solid food. Your father is a soldier. You have to make your father proud." At least, she couldn't be like Yun Jian, who looked weak and gentle. Gu Yunjian's university classmates were all military students. The women were military doctors. Wang Defang's husband was Gu Yunjian's university classmate. Naturally, he was also a soldier. However, Wang Defang's husband wasn't as powerful as Gu Junjian. His military rank wasn't as high as Gu Yunjian's either. Therefore, Wang Defang was envious. "Mom, I defeated a boy at the martial arts school last time." Zhu Wen looked at her mother, Wang Defang, proudly. She bit the pork trotter and tore it apart. "Wow, our Wen is so powerful. You will inherit your father's skills in the future." When Wang Defang heard this, she reached out and patted her daughter's 160 kilograms body. Then, she glanced at Yun Jian and Qin Yiru proudly. "I'm sorry we're late." At this moment, a man dressed in formal clothes walked in. There was another person standing next to him. It was obvious that he was the man's son. "You're not late at all. Bring your son to a seat. We've already eaten for a while." Gu Junjian laughed and waved at the man. The man's son glanced around lazily. However, under everyone's gaze, it was as if he had suddenly seen an important person. He walked towards Yun Jian and shouted, "Grandmaster! Grandmaster, you're here." The man's son was none other than Zhang Xiaofeng's disciple, Zhang Jian. He was the silly fatty nicknamed Little Fatty. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.